think that I just come in there and look for knockoffs, and that's not the case. You know, I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
So, well, I'm here. Who wanted to fight with me?
I really don't care who's in front of me. I don't feel like no fighter beat me.
Demolish everybody, to be honest. Everybody that's in my way. The pinnacle to any weight division is to have all the belts, all of the titles.
Welcome to Bodywork.
Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. It feels so good to be back. Man, sometimes we gotta let the beat build. We gotta let boxing breathe. Because again, our thing is always quality over quantity. And this is not McDonald's, man. Always consider this channel like one of them novelty bookstores, man. Like the ones where when you know you want something, when you want to go look up your history, or you want to really know the length, the breadth, the width, the depth, the buoyancy, the capacity, the volume of things. You go back, you get back in them nooks and them crannies, you grab that book. You might have to grab some crystals, you might have to grab whatever it is you need, but you can't find it just anywhere. So we're never going to be of the likes of these McDonald's and these 7-Elevens out here. And I'm telling y'all, listen, man, identity theft is a real thing. I took a break and I had the privilege to peruse and go out here and put my ear to the streets and watch what was going on, man. And man, my DNA be all in other people's shit, man. Like, you can underestimate what this channel brings, but like more than likely, your favorite content creator, he suffering from identity crisis, bro. Like, you know when you know your shit, your sayings. Like your whole layout, like how you be a avatar, and then you come out like the raise the one hand if you think, raise your hand if you think, all that shit, man. And people don't really realize that they be obsessed with you, but they don't give no credit. They don't ever hit your cash out. They don't ever hit your super chat. But they be looking, they be waiting, they be watching. Like, it's no reason. Like, listen, I never had to go link up with no other group. I ain't never had to backstab and go join no community to get this. I got this shit out the mud. I got to the 1,000 subscribers. I got the watch hours. Dolo. I rose dolo from state to state. Like, all by my lonesome. Just by being authentic and being genuine and being myself. But you might want to check your favorite content creator, because I was thinking about, I said, you know what? Most of the time, it's not about getting the credit, and I'm on that right now. It's really, and that's what I be telling my co-host AC, like, AC, we're never going to get the credit, bro. It's not about the credit at this point. It's about the message. But what I will say is, even though it's not about the credit, it should always be about the respect. If you don't respect your fellow brother enough to at least say, you know what, I admired you, I looked up to you, I've been doing this, you know what I'm saying, yeah, I got this from you, I did this. If you don't do that, I can't respect you. And I told my lady I wasn't going to do this, but like, it's some people, that's why I take a break every now and again. I sit back and I watch and I look and see how everybody doing their thing. But some of y'all motherfuckers is a knockoff. We got some knockoffs out here. And I'll leave you with this, because I'm not going to go on a big rant. This is going to be a very nutrition-filled video, right? But I'll leave y'all with this. in American history, because I always say, we know that Christopher Columbus didn't discover America, right? We know that, right? Like, this is my shit. Raise your hand if you know that Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. Raise your hand. Okay. For all you got your hands raised, put your hand down if that didn't stop the public school system from teaching that shit to our children, to our youth, to our babies. It hasn't, right? Yeah, the same reason why we celebrate 4th of July and all Thanksgiving and all these other holidays that ain't, you know what I'm saying, if you don't do your research, if you don't educate yourself, you'll be caught up in the whole party, the festivals, the festivities of it all. And you'll never really peep the truth of it all. And that's where I'm at. See, there should have been another timeline, because I'm a solution-oriented individual, and I want y'all to understand how the mind of Michael Rogers, not Bodywork. Bodywork is the channel. Michael Rogers is the individual. I'm not an online character. I don't have to get any character. The same way you see me at the grocery store, the mechanic shop, wherever you see me, is how I'm going to be. I can't change. I won't. It's ingrained. There should have been an alternative timeline to our history that been put out by the people who knew our timeline and our history. And the fact that we were already over here. Most of us. But what happened? Every time the scholars start getting together and start getting ready to put together a curriculum to be able to teach to our babies as far as our real timeline, alternative timeline to what they're teaching our babies. Because if you raised your hand, you already knew that Christopher Columbus didn't discover this country. And then you put it down because you realize that that's not stopping them from teaching our babies. Well, what should they teach our babies? An alternative timeline. Only reason why we don't have an alternative timeline is because every time we get ready to start putting out an alternative timeline, they put out some more bogus information. So what we do? We put down all our work, all our scholarship, all our research, everything we've been working on, we put down to refute what they are saying. Because they'll come out and make another bogus claim. So we'll put down our works. So we don't put down no timeline, no alternative timeline, and we stop what we're doing to go refute their works. And I told myself, I said, listen, man, I know it's a lot of clones out here that won't give me credit for what's been done on this channel. The hard work, the authentication, everything, they won't. I will not put down my timeline and stop doing what I'm doing to go refute with everybody else. But there will become a time when I really have time. And don't be surprised if your favorite content creator come up on a documentary in 8K where I'm exposing their ass. Because I will have the time. My lady been telling me to do it. But I said, you know what? It ain't about me getting the credit. It's about the message. But more so, it's really about the respect. You know what I'm saying? A lot of y'all been pilfering, looting, robbing, stealing. And I see you. I might play nice because I told my lady that, yeah, I got to show that I can play nice with others. I can play well with others. And I know that there's a bigger mission involved in right now. And that mission is to uphold the sport of boxing and continue to put down this truth, my truth. Things that are not being said. Things that take scrutiny. Things that would not allow you to be online all day, every day, because you have to take and digest and sit down and let time go by, just like everything else, because time will reveal all. And that's really what's really going on. Sometimes we gotta let the beat build. We gotta let shit breathe. And then we'll come out and give a thorough analysis on what we feel is important. And I think tonight, the meat and potatoes, everything that we're gonna say is imperative to the sport of boxing. So I salute to the 300. I salute to people like OG Cass. You know, he's definitely a change of pace. If you have not subscribed to OG Cass, I've been listening to him in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, man. Well-versed history. He do the music thing just like me, but he had a little laid-back, mellow music. You know what I'm saying? And it's like he goes over things, man, and he dropped the jewel. He dropped the jewel yesterday. I said, man, this man is cooking. But since I got onto him, he's been cooking. So I want to give him a special salute and a shout out. If you have not subscribed to him, subscribe to him, man. We need people like that. We need historians. We need people that's going to come with the facts. We need originals. We need people that's not going to they don't pursue all the numbers and the likes and want to be liked by everybody and want to have all the water cooler talk and have everybody in agreement. No, they can stand on their own. They can stay in their own lane and do their own thing. But we got to appreciate when it comes down to saluting people that's in their lane doing their own thing. So salute the OG cast. And I appreciate you for being in the building. Cookie Monster say, mic check, 1 2 1 2, sounding crystal clear. That's what I like to hear. Thank you, Cookie Monster. With no further ado, man, I got my man Apple Scrapple AC in the building. How you feeling, AC?
Man, I'm feeling good today, man. I just wanted to research a couple of things. Basically, before we came on air to make sure what I was seeing, what it is, so it can relate to tonight's cooking. People gonna find that a bit interesting and shit like that. But other than that, man, I'm really good, man. I'm in a happy place. I figured out directions, and now all I'm doing is just steamrolling ahead and knocking that shit out.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, finna roast tonight. We are finna roast tonight, man, because I don't know if y'all seen Mr. Friday. I don't know if y'all seen Friday, man, when he said, "That's your ass, Mr. Postman." That's how I'm feeling today. Brady Hall, bro, salute, yeah. Brady, Braden. But yeah, man,
But I wanted to say this as well. Basically, when we were talking behind the scenes of the devil in the detail next episode and everything, I'm gonna push that back, because this episode we doing today, we can merge all of that information in together, and just people will be like, whoa, they fucked the game up with that. They just exposed everything. Nobody can hide now. And that's kind of the way I'm looking at this episode.
Yeah, that's why I'm that's why I consulted with you. You know what I'm saying? That's why we rock the way we rock, because we don't have to be out here jumping on everything and making it seem like we're first and we're breaking news. Like, everybody's seeing it. If you're a hardcore, you're seeing everything. It's how you process it. I'm like, if you never sit down and process it, you chew it, you digest it. You always eating all this fast food. This is not fast food. That's why I give the McDonald's and the 7-Eleven references. It's not fast food. This is more like gourmet. And you got a real chef, you know what I'm saying, and a household chef, you know what I'm saying? Because I am a chef in my own right. I might not have a Michelin like Mr. AC, but I still do my thing. And in life, that's how we got to do it. I think there's a lot of people that's out here that knee-jerk reactionists. They got to be first. They got to get all the credit. They got to be the one to say, so they could be like, yeah, I spoke on, but it's like, you spoke on it, but what depth, what breadth, what buoyancy, what capacity, what volume did you give the subject? Nothing. You was fly by night. You was a fart in the wind. You didn't do shit. Excuse my French. But we gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? That's why I appreciate how it is when I talk to you and we vibe and I say, you know what? You wanna go on? You like, nah, let's let it build, let's let it breathe. Because if I would have went on yesterday, I had a lot on my mind about boxing. And had I spoke about it the way I would normally have, it'd have just been like an old man venting. You know what I'm saying? Just an angry old man just venting. So I'm glad I let the beat build. You know what I'm saying? I let shit breathe and I digest. And I was able to see some things. I went out, because sometimes you can't see what's going on because you go on at a certain time. And when people come on the same time as you don't really get to scope the landscape. But I wound up scoping the landscape. And I realized, man, I got a real live knockoff out here. A knockoff. But then took the recipes, you know what I'm saying? Like the main recipes, and added a couple different ingredients and is running around like that was their dish. I'm like, knock it off. But not gonna let that distract me. Your day is coming, my brother. You know what I'm saying? Just because, just because we're not dueling it out and I'm not going for your juggler right now, that don't mean you're not on the radar. Trust me. Frontline, Bodywork, panel, chat, salute Frontline. But let's get into the housekeeping. Shock, as in O'Shaquie Foster, is in early negotiations with Navarrete. And now, I understood why people like Chris, Big Head, Blue Suit, Mannix was coming out pouring water on the fight. And on May 30th, he told us that, it's widely known that, in our atmosphere that Shakur is signing with Zuffa, so that fight's not going to happen. He did that after Shakur, disingenuous Twitterson, got in the ring with O'Shaquie and didn't shake his hand and was just, talking all this stuff, calling the B word, called him out his name and all this. And Shock was like, don't disrespect me. Because I think people be having Shock twisted like he ain't a real one. But I think y'all need to know that O'Shaquie was actually doing time for attempted murder. So I think that his history should precede the fact that he's really a real one. Like, it was really attempted murder, and he had to wait and see what happened with the old boy before whatever, because he didn't know. He just did his thing. He got a second lease on life. But O'Shaquie got away with that. Chris Mannix came out, poured water all over the fight. That was May 30th, and now we know. Now we know. All the way up on a day like today, July 9th. So May 30th to July 9th. Chris Mannix came out and said it May 30th. And we gave everybody the benefit of the doubt, the grace, and all these other shenanigans, all these call-outs, and all this other different stuff that was going on. This is what I be talking about as far as the benefit of the doubt. Why do we give people the benefit of the doubt? Because imagine you text somebody on May 30th, and you be like, hey, you good? And they don't get back to you till July 9th. Yeah. That's one thing about this channel. We incorporate real life. So imagine if you reached out to somebody, your main subscriber. You say, hey, bro, you good? You're shorty. You say, hey, man, you all right? It's May 30th. And she don't get back to you till July 9th. That's going to make you look at things different, ain't it? Well, we just found out that Shakur Stevenson signed with Zuffa today. That's when he made his announcement. That's part of the meat and potatoes, so we're not going to get into that. But being the diligent, busy little bee that O'Shaquie is, he said, listen, this is my plan. And see, this makes sense. He had been reached out to Navarrete. Navarrete been ducking him. But unlike us, because if a black man, starts ducking, all the black people gonna be like, oh man, he's a duck, I do it. If it's a flat out duck, I say, what the fuck is a duck? And I'll point it out and give factual information, a timeline, a history, historical events. And I don't even use their personal things. But O'Shaquie had been pursuing Navarrete. Navarrete, he said that they had shook on it. So unlike Shakur, Navarrete actually shook the man's hand. They made an agreement on some old school type stuff. And they said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll get down. So right now they are in preliminary talks and negotiations to actually get it on. And why are those big implications? Because the winner of that fight will have 3 stripes. They'll be in the same seat that Errol Spence was before he came up against one Terrence Bud Crawford, who had that single lone strap. That one strap that would not be had would be a guy named Anthony Kakesi, the same guy who issued Joe Cordina a knockout loss, who Shakur was going to fight coming off of that knockout loss, moving up a weight division and all of that. But I digress. I like Anthony Kakesi. I like what he brings to the table. He'll be in the seat, much like the Josh Kelly. I mean, I think he's better in his division than Josh Kelly is in his division, but he'll be waiting or those two dragons, like AC said, who's coming up like doof, 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 and he's the lamb tied up to that fence, just waiting to be devoured. Now, Casey can upset the apple cart. He do have a set of cojones in his pantalones. But I'm proud of Oshaki for not being, for saying, listen, I'm still pursuing this. I still waiting by the phone. I'm still sitting by the dock of the bay. But guess what? I'm not wasting time. I'm still doing what I got to do in my division because he said, listen, if I can't get a fight with Navarrete, if I can't unify with Kakese, my time here, down here at 130 is up. I'm going to 135. And what is he doing? He's trying to make a deal with Navarrete, and I hope he get it. And a lot of people are saying, oh, that's not a big fight. All these dumbass boxing fans coming out giving their opinion, oh, that's not really a mega fight. That's not a big fight. I'm like, you can't satisfy these boxing fans. We talking about major channels that's coming out, and I'm not saying they're pouring water on the fight, but they coming by on your cold just with a little water gun, just squirting, just spraying little spritz in the coals. It's like, what are you talking about? Yo, why y'all don't have the same energy that y'all had when Shakur was out here chasing Valdez? Everybody, their mother was out here crying. Man, Valdez, man, Top Rank won't give him Valdez. Why we don't got the same energy? Because we know Navarrete is the weight bully. We know he got his ass busted like a grape at 35 by Varanchik. But we don't keep the same energy. Why? Because it's a lot of protection out here for Shakur. We know that people don't keep the same energy. We know that it's different. But Oshaki came out. He revealed it. I reiterated it. That since 2020, he's been fighting top 5 competition in his division since 2020. Your favorite fighter can't say that. Like 3 videos ago, I came on and said I gave the list of the fighters that can actually put themselves in that claim, but I guarantee you, your favorite fighter can't do that and still have the same plus minus that he has had with a pickpocket, a robbery on their record. They can't say that. So we got to put out positive vibes, man. We got to hope that Navarrete don't tuck his tail, you know what I'm saying, and run, and that he actually gives a la Xander. Only Oshaki has a belt. He's already in the division. He's already been fighting the top 5. Y'all already had an agreement to fight, and you've been ducking that man. So it's a little bit different than Boots and Xander, where Xander had the 2 straps. Boots was moving up. He got a soft touch, obliterated him, and now you're coming to a high risk, you know, decent reward type fight for what you were bringing to the table. This is different. You got something that you can acquire in Navarrete. You got another belt that you can get if you are able to outdo this man in the sweet science of boxing. And I think that with the run Oshaki is having, it would be befitting that Navarrete go ahead and do the dance. So I'm happy for Oshaki, man. He's one of the guys that I'm heavily pushing right now because the move that he makes, the energy that he keeps, even his character and how he conducts himself, how he stands on his word. He don't over embellish. He don't get out of character. He don't do any of that. He's going to the ring and do his thing. And he got that clutch gene. So I'm pulling that this fight goes through. Let's pray to the boxing gods. Proverbially, you know I'd be joking, but let's play to the boxing gods that this fight get across the line. Number 2. Marcharlo Berto interview. It was fire to me. I know people that came out with these reports because they wanted to be first, and I heard one dude from Houston, one dude from Dallas. They were the only ones that I really heard report that this man had got a DUI and all this and all that. We ain't heard shit about no DUI. We heard that it was like some toll violation, some shit from back in the day, and all this and all that, because they were trying to put hot sauce and mustard on everything, like how some of these dudes do their punches, and that really wasn't the case. But then people, they got this thing, man. It's a part of the virtue signaling. It's just like when the masses don't like somebody, so you got to come out and you got to say something that they can actually side with. It's like politics all over again. When you got to come out and act like you can't understand. Like, oh, I just didn't understand what Jamal Charlo was saying. I needed an interpreter and all this. It's like, no, you need an attention span. You need to be able to sit down and just listen to what the man's saying and not be critical, not be looking for something that you can just run back to your audience and shit on a man about. You need to sit down, calm down, relax. Maybe you have ADHD. Maybe you need some Adderall. Maybe you need something that'll calm you down and help you focus. Because I had no problem in understanding what Jamal Charlo was saying. And maybe one of the things was the person that interviewed him. Andre Berto is right for he's right for the space. He's just, compared to what Tim Bradley be doing, compared to Andre Ward doing, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Resume, we know Resume, a Hall of Fame, what they were doing inside the ring, that's a whole nother thing. But as far as the interview wise, Andre Berto is killing them niggas. You know what I'm saying? Killing them. He made Jamal Charlo feel comfortable. He didn't set him up with no baited questions, but he still asked the tough questions. But he made it personable. It was a better environment. He let Jamal Charlo open up and speak and not rush him and not have an agenda to try to pick and pull and prod like negative information out of him. But because you follow a pack, you follow a cult, you follow a whole bunch of people that just looking for the first thing to say so y'all can just shit on them and divide the brothers and do all of that. Andre Berto didn't do all of that. And Mark Charlo, he sounded like he was in a very good space. I had already been saying, man, people kept saying, oh, the best jabs in boxing. Well, I already know. If you're a cult member, you're going to say you know who had the best jab in boxing. But how did that best jab in boxing fare against Ryan Garcia? It didn't. It wasn't just a left hook. It was straight right hands. Because the left side of his face was, god damn. But Mark Charlo, Errol Spence have always been one of the guys that had like the best jabs in boxing. Arguably, Maul had the best jab in boxing. Why? Because even in the interview, he said he's beating motherfuckers up with a jab. His jab is like a right hand to most people. He was just in a bad headspace. He went through some things. And some of that, I can relate to a lot of it. Like one portion he said, I can relate. See, because me, when I get online, I don't forget that I had a personal life, that I had experiences, that I went through some stuff. And I can imagine if you went and got hit in the head for a living, how would your life be if you had to get on there and put it all online and you're getting hit in the head with a living and you in there with some pillars, you undefeated. They would love for you to be the pelt up on that wall. And no matter what he went through, no matter what adversity he faced, he's still undefeated. He still feel like he's winning. He's like, man, listen, man, I might have been set back. You know what I'm saying? I might have been denied of some things. I might have had to go through what I went through, but I needed to go through that because I wasn't ready. He still spoke highly of his brother. He said, I love him, but then he explained their situation. It was a beautiful interview. And I'm sorry if your IQ, if your level of understanding, if your level of comprehension could not allow you to be able to comprehend what Jamal Charlo was saying in that interview. I'm sorry. most like these people that get online, especially these trolls, where they probably repeated the 6th grade like twice, maybe the 7th grade like once, maybe the 9th grade like twice. Maybe you got to repeat the interview and go back and listen. Turn everything off. Because you might not really be able to multitask the way you think you can if you didn't understand that interview. I'm proud of Marv for telling the story. I'm proud of him for getting back. I'm proud of him for how he's approaching the Caleb Plant situation. He's a G in his own right. And I'm rooting for him. I'm pulling for him. I have nothing negative to say. I'm not going to be like these dumbasses who try to split up twins. I told y'all, it's a set of twins called the Grandy twins that are coming up. They're like 17, like they might be 18 right now, but they're like 17, 18 years old. I pray y'all don't do them like y'all did them. Like these guys, these Charlo twins. Because these Grandy boys, they are nice. I've been watching them for a couple years now. And they are nice. They've been developing this whole time. I think they either just turning pro or they getting ready to turn pro. And they nice. And I hope the world don't divide them the way everybody just openly try to divide the twins. But if you have not checked it out, man, go and give Andre Berto his props. Go subscribe to Andre Berto. The sensationalism, the lack of class, like the digging for the negative shit, he don't do none of that. Like these other guys. Recently we seen a Derrick James interview. We seen a Earl Spence interview about a month ago. And people just ran off with all of the craziest shit they could think of with him. It's like you won't really be able to do this unless that's your intention when you go back and look at this interview. I think it was done with class. I think it was comfortable. I think that if you really open your eyes, right, have an open mind, act like you've been through some shit in life and you watch this interview, you understand exactly where Jamal Charlo is at. He keeps saying this is the fourth quarter of my boxing career, so he's a realist. You just got to sit down and listen. In this microwave era that we living in. That's all you got to do. So, go back and listen to that Andre Berto interview with Jamal Charlo. Shakur's a throwback warrior. That's what I'll be saying. He a throwback fighter, Cass. OG Cass. He's a throwback fighter, in my opinion, man. He's moving the way everybody needs him to move. Salute. But that's number 2. Number 3, Rolly set to give T.O. his 3rd L. And I heard KQKC the other day. He was talking about the romper room, and you think he dated himself. Well, if he dated himself, I'm definitely gonna date myself with this, because I don't know if y'all remember Sesame Street and the guy called the count. When he 1, 2, 3. This is interesting because I'm claiming that Rolando Romero is going to give Teofimo his 3rd L. But guess what? If Teofimo, the roller coaster ride of a man that he is, the fighter that he is, if he is to upset the apple cart, which I believe if T.O. win, this will be an upset, in my opinion, he can hand Rolly his 3rd L. So, is who will give who their 3rd L? Or the lines I was saying. Now, I'm saying it's going to be Rolly. I think that Rolly going to hit T.O. with some shit. It's going to make him put his hands in his pockets early on the same way he did Ryan. Because why? Not that I was always the biggest fan of Rolly. Yes, I seen my guy Tank put his ass on stilettos. I seen Pitbull Cruz clip that chin. Both of them guys were smaller gentlemen. It looked like T.O. was damn near the same height as Rolly. I think Rolly might got him by like a half inch or inch maybe. But it's something about, even in life with me, when you fighting small, I'm 5'10". When you fighting smaller guys with a low center of gravity and they got some power, that's some shit to deal with. I would rather fight somebody that's taller than me. That's just how I've always been. I'd rather fight somebody where I can look up and see what's going on versus somebody that can dip down and get up underneath, because it's like that Tyson effect. If you can dip low and you come up and you got to be on your P's and Q's the whole time, that's just the science of boxing. I just think that the way I saw him, the way many people saw him, I think that Rolly He's been doing a little bit of trolling here lately in the interviews. Even in the press conference, he was being a little weird and being comical, but I think that was just his attempt to sell the fight. But if you listen to him, he was actually more mature than Clarissa Shields in her interview. Go watch the Clarissa Shields interview. Go watch the Rolly Rolando interview. And his most recent one that he did, I think it was on Fight Hype. He was doing a little bit of, trolling. He was doing, but this was the coming of, he's been out of the limelight. So he's been trying to sell the fight. And somebody got to sell the fight. So he's been doing that. But if you listen to him in Headspace, I think he's been on his spirituality kick. He's saying that he matured. He's been with Silas. And Silas said, I don't like to really call it. He's like, but like Silas basically said, look, man, I don't really like to call this kind of stuff out. But Silas is basically saying he was going to knock T.O. out. And I believe he is. I think that either A, it's going to probably be a little bit more action-packed than what happened when he fought Ryan, because T.O. is going to be hard-headed in the beginning. But you got to think about it like this. If Teofimo had the kind of problem that he had with Steve Claggett, if you think that Rolly is just kind of like a Steve Claggett, only he's more physical, punch way harder than Steve Claggett. If you look at Teofimo and how he came out of that fight, he didn't come out of that fight looking all. He couldn't go to the club after that fight. He's dealing with a more seasoned, tenured, mature Rolly. He's with a different coach. He's not with Bullet anymore. He's with Silas. He's, that Cuban style. He's been learning. He's been in there with Joseph Brown. He's been sparring, with the likes of, he's been in the same gym as David Morrell and Joseph Brown. And if y'all don't know about Joseph Brown, he's probably the best kept secret at a 154 right now. He's just a young guy with TMT. I don't think he's getting half the exposure, a third or quarter of the exposure that he should be getting with TMT. But he's been in there. Y'all know how them films be when you got to put the film in that, you got to put them in that dark light so they can develop, and it take time. That's what Rolly been doing. He's been in the background developing. And it's astounding that I think 19 fights? He's about to be he's in his third weight class. Right? About to defend against a guy that's going to his third weight class. And with 19 fights, how many fights Keyshawn got? How is Rolly's resume matching up with Keyshawn? Why didn't Keyshawn ever call out Rolly with no real intensity? Things that make you go, You know what I'm saying? It's a reason why you never heard Keyshawn just outright calling Rolly and saying, yeah, I want that smoke, and running up on Rolly doorbell talking about some ding, ding, ding. Yeah, he rolling up on Devin. Why? Because he seen what Ryan was able to do. Ain't too many people rolling out. Like, you seen what happened with Devin, how he exit stage left like a pussy. I thought PBC ain't have no money. How was Teofimo Lopez able to get a direct deal with the Zone? And you see Takeover Promotions. That could have easily been DHP Promotions. If you want to be like Floyd on some Mount Rushmore shit, that's would have been, you know what I'm saying? A unification. You would have beat the man that beat the guy that put hands and feet all over your ass. And you hauled off and dashed. But I digress. I think Rolly's getting ready to knock the dust off of T.O. And me, I'm disappointed in T.O. T.O. used to be one of my guys. I've seen him with that same old rigmarole about, the people looking at his T.O. career. We all know that Teofimo Lopez, he's binary. One fight he's hot, one fight he's cold. No, I can say, when he's moving in on a champion that has a strap, he will rise to the occasion. Y'all gotta think, Shakur moved in on him with a strap. But he proved against Loma, he proved against Josh Taylor, that when he's going to go get a strap and he's passionate about it, he can turn up. It's just which one will show up. He's the Joker. But I have no more, I'm just disappointed because he put his hands in his pockets against a guy like Shakur, where you're not going to worry about having to get a busted jaw. You're not worried about having to get your skull cracked. Like, you're not going against Tank Davis, Archer Beterbiev. You was going against pillow hands, and you made a business decision to put your hands in your fucking pocket You can't tell me that front foot placement and the jab was able to keep Teofimo at bay. So right now, maybe it's me more hoping that Rolly put his hands and feet on T.O. because I'm disappointed. But with all the racial stuff and all that, I let it go. Then he went back and played again, and then I said, okay, look, I'm going to give you another shot. Just go in there and put up a fight. But even what Xander did with Boots, we didn't see that. Even what Bell did, you know what I'm saying, with Abdullah, we didn't see that. T.O. put his hands in his pocket. And I said, listen, if you're going to get rid of T.O., if you're going to send somebody in there to spank T.O., you don't send somebody like Shakur in there to do it. You send somebody in there like Boots to do it. Somebody like Tank to do it. Somebody like Tito Mercado to do it. Somebody like Gary Antoine to do it. That's going to put belt to ass. You don't send a Shakur. And what T.O. did, he let us down. He didn't even fight. He didn't even go out on the shield. His father said, you're going to hate yourself in the morning, bro. You got to hit him, bro. And everybody want to roast Teofimo Sr. for saying that. But just like Noah, when they say it drunk, hey, drunk or not, that's the truth. You got to hit him, bro. You got to let your hands go, bro. You're going to hate yourself in the morning, bro. Like, what did T.O. Sr. say wrong? We might not have heard the best tutelage in the corner, but what did he tell this man that was wrong? So I don't believe in T.O., and maybe it is me hoping that Rolly, you know what I'm saying, put a foot off in T.O.'s ass right now. But I got T.O. getting ready to get his 1, 2, 3rd L. In typical Sesame Street count fashion. And that is the housekeeping. What you got, AC?
Yeah, give me a sec.
What up, King? I appreciate that super chat, brother. King.
I'm gonna start with Rolly because that's the most interesting dynamic right now to me. People sometimes may, or they just may forget that Rolly has his judo background, and that's a whole different mindset, discipline, and stuff like that. So he's been in basically combat sports his entire life since he was a little dude, and he transitioned into boxing at 23. Him working with Joseph Brown, and I had asked Joseph Brown this question to say, you know, but first off, big salute to Joseph Brown and to his pops and the whole Brown family up in Canada. But basically, I had asked him, you know, was the transition coming from a Taekwondo background easy in boxing? He said, yeah. And I said, so would that be like the dynamic that you and Rolly share, that kind of like we don't get to see because we're not in the camp and see the synergy with you guys training because you both have that combat sport background or just growing up in combat sport? He was like, yeah, for sure. So that part right there started to make me look at Rolly in a different light. And plus, just some interviews I was seeing even before he fought Ryan, it was just like I was looking at a different Rolly Romero. Like, not the talking crazy, just come in with a white t-shirt, little simple chain, nothing trying to be all flashy or whatever, not like before with the aviator glasses and the fur coat in 100 degree weather and stuff like that. He not on it like that. I guess like I think the word I used before, like Tank smacks professionalism into these dudes. So he tightened Rolly up, gave Rolly some act right when he stopped him, because after that you're looking at a completely different Rolly Romero. So me looking at the two of these guys going into this fight, I'm looking at one guy who's good with telling us the problems, but bad in executing the solution that you're supposed to have to the problem, which then makes the problem 10 times more worse. Because like they said in the interview today, Teofimo is mental. he said Shakur was coming after his stuff, and then you put your hands in your pocket. You said that was the fight of your life. Your career depended on it. Now you're saying the same exact things again against Rolly Romero, who, if Rolly hit you with one of them hooks, yeah, it's definitely gonna bust you open, and immediately it might cause your pops just to throw the towel and like, oh shit, he done, whoa, you know what I'm saying? So my take on this fight coming up is I'm going with the more disciplined, more stable-minded Rolly Romero, who showed he can box, he can follow a game plan and still deliver on the power. So my thing is he probably smacked Tio down. Tio gets back up and he's just going to put his hands in his pocket and probably get on his bike, to where his people going to be booing Tio, and he'll be doing some posturing from while Rolly's in the corner and he's way on the other side of town and stuff like that. And as soon as Rolly get close to him, he going to be up out of dodge. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm probably expecting a knockdown, and then basically, you know, Tio finding some new marathon track shoes made by Nike, sponsored by Nike or whatever. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. And I actually like the fight. You know what I'm saying? I think this is a really good name for Rolly to start to build his run on. You're gonna start with Teofimo Lopez. Yeah, Tio is coming off the loss, but people still want to see Tio, whether you feel however you feel about him. He's just one of those guys that brings something to boxing. And at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw, Teofimo Lopez is going to be missed. I wouldn't say Mayorga, maybe Cotto-like, maybe, and I'm not saying in the manner of boxing, but just the presence of when he's on the card, you think something is gonna something good is gonna happen. You feel what I'm saying? So or something interesting is gonna happen. So I'm kind of excited for this fight, and I like this dynamic and stuff like that. And I love the fact that I couldn't stop laughing. I had to keep pausing it up because he kept on saying, we beat Lomachenko. However he was doing Teofimo Lopez pops, that impression, that shit had me dying. Like, Rolly, you killing me, son. You're killing it right now. So I thoroughly enjoyed it and everything. I thought it was kind of funny and everything. And yeah, you seen Rolly already getting in the head of the pops, because the pops kind of flipped out. But moving on to the second one, put him up again. No, I didn't. Honestly, I did not see the Berto Charlo interview. I'll go look for it. But at the end of the day, I'm happy Maul is coming back. You know what I'm saying? I hope he's got his mind right. These are two guys people will try to get at you like they're over the hill or lost or something like that, but that's not the case whatsoever. Right. You feel what I'm saying? It was a family dynamic that was fucking with them. Not the business of boxing, not losses, none of that shit. Family. And when you going at it with family, it fucks with you in different ways. So I'm happy that they both are coming back and stuff like that. So, you know, besides all of that stuff, I'll go and check the Berto interview out. And I'll trust your word that Berto is a great interviewer, or he comes at the fighter as the fighter. Nah, we just two fighters chopping it up. You feel what I'm saying? I'm not trying to size you up. I'm not trying to do none of that. We just talking. I'm retired. I don't want to fight you because you probably fucked me up, you know, even with a 1-year camp. You feel what I'm saying? And if that's the energy he's bringing, I really, really appreciate it. Shaq versus Navarrete negotiations. Yeah, I'm happy to see that. there's some caveats to it that I'm gonna bring up a little bit later, because there's certain things that I just really found out, because I'm like putting the Ali act under scrutiny, because I had a question and I just wanted to see if the wording in the first paragraph was still the same. So moving forward, when we get into that part, I'll disclose what that is. But at the end of the day, man, how do I say this? Too slow, stone feet. Yeah, you looked good in your last fight. You look like you finally came in shape for a fight and stuff like that. But you're in there with the technician. You know, one guy's a lumberjack and the other one is a technician. Who's gonna be the one that gets the job done? And to me, I'm gonna bet on the technician. You know what I'm saying? Because he's gonna come with a mindset. He's gonna come with a plan. He's gonna look at certain things and just, you know, see the openings and just start to pick them apart. And that's what we're gonna look at. Just like we saw him do what he did with Ray Ray. This one is gonna be a bit more impressive if you're talking about, you know, Navarrete. You feel what I'm saying? As you know, those guys over at Ring Magazine love to talk about Navarrete. You feel what I'm saying? So as they, you know, as they bigging him up like that, and Ben kind of like bigging him up like that, Oshak is just gonna. This is easy work for Oshak. And I'm not taking nothing away from Navarrete, because I think he is a good boxer. I just think he's too slow. His feet gonna betray him. The speed of where he moves and reacts to certain stuff is gonna betray him, because he's gonna misread Oshaki's distance constantly and never be able to make the adjustment to actually get his rhythm and then be able to close that distance on Oshak, because he's always gonna be thinking about the hands and the upper body, and never gonna have the time to be at a safe distance to where he can see all of Oshaki and probably try to use whatever IQ he has about guys' movement to work in his favor of his style. I don't think he'll have that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? And it's just gonna be funny but ugly. So that's where I land the plane on that, and that's my take on the housekeeping.
Yeah, my only thing is with the Oshaki, I went over the plus minus and I gave all the reasons why. We went through it thoroughly, and I said this is why Oshaki was going to take Lil Ray Ray to school, because it's plus or minus. But the fact that he's such a technician, it's more propensity. I have more propensity to see a stoppage, or at least Navarrete getting put on his back pockets, more than I even seen in a Ray Ford fight. Now, I thought that if Ray got aggressive, he could have found himself in his back pocket, but Navarrete got exposed by Baranchik. Like, he went up to 35, and this is something that people are not going to talk about. And we give a lot of these Hispanic fighters, the Mexican fighters, a whole lot of grace. But he go up to 35, he gets his ass busted like a grape. He go back down to 30 where he can weight bully, and he just looked in shape, so he looked good against the opponent that he had. But I think that the technical prowess of Oshaki is going to get him out of sorts. Now, he can overwhelm Oshaki if Oshaki thinks too much, he gets too much in his head. Yeah, like anybody, because it might look like, I'm not saying that Oshaki got the power of Tank, but it might look like how when Tank fought Leo Santa Cruz. But the volume was giving Tank issues, you know what I'm saying? He was trying to figure some shit out, but once he figured it out, he said, okay, I got it down. it might be like that for the first couple rounds where he's trying to figure him out because he's getting overwhelmed with a whole bunch of punches. And then boom, once he figure it out, it's over. Either he gonna step on the gas and not look back, and Navarrete is never gonna be able to catch up. But this will be more of him either getting fucked up on the scorecards because it'll appear that Navarrete is being aggressive, and the volume, even though he'll be catching, Oshaki will be slipping, pivoting, doing everything he need to do. But I think that right now, where Oshaki's at, being like fully healthy and all that, I think he's gonna put on a very good clinic, and he's gonna expose Navarrete once again. With Maul and with the Maul video, would you want to say something?
No, go ahead. I'll wait till you finish.
With the Maul and Berto video, yes. Berto, what I enjoyed about it was the history. Maul got to go through the history, his upbringing, how the fact that his father was, a boxer, like everything he experienced and learned from, Ronnie Shields, and how he had to do homework on Andre Berto. He was studying Andre Berto. And Andre Berto made him feel comfortable. He knew about the history. He didn't pit the brothers against each other because it's very easy to do that, which is like kind of disrespectful in my opinion. But it's a classic interview, man. It's the way that I would wish that Tim and Andre would approach the video instead of the manner or the vein, or the intentions or agenda that they have when they actually interviewing people. So yeah, I loved it. I wasn't gonna watch it at first, you know what I'm saying? Because I heard somebody else's take on it. I said, no, I'm a free thinker. Let me go look at it for myself. And I'm like, I don't know what y'all talking about. Maybe you need some Adderall, bro. Because it was very clear in his mindset and what he was going through, his line of thinking, how he feels right now, and he's realistic because he kept saying, he said that he's in the fourth quarter of his career, and I think he approached it in a very mature way, a very realistic way. He's not saying, oh yeah, I feel like I'm 25. He's like, no, so even though I'm 36, I feel like I'm 31, 32. And like, if you think about it, he has not really had any wear and tear, and people think that he's been gone or missing in action longer than he has, but he fought a year ago. Before that, it was a year. You know what I'm saying? So he hasn't had as much time as people, because they over embellish about it. So I just say that, hey, go back and look at it. You know what I'm saying? Just go back and watch.
Yeah, for sure. What I was gonna say was, that's an interesting take on Oshak stopping him. And for me, when you said it, a fight came to mind. If my mind was gonna picture what that fight would look like, with Oshak's hand speed, his footwork, and everything, I thought of David Benavidez versus Zurdo. Like that level of that skills gap, hand speed gap, tenacious gap, technical ability gap. I don't know why that fight popped into my head when you said that. And that's why I was like, oh, and I was getting ready to say something, and I was like, no, it's not that important to interrupt your train of thought and everything. But I wanted to say this. The other day, I went on this young lady's channel, right? And she was doing a breakdown of the what some of channels are trying to talk about Tank being closed in and boxed in, and at PBC wanted to survive, they had to bend the knee to Turkey. And I stated my opinion about that part, right? And I just broke it down. Sky Sports, Zuffa Holding, the Turk, those are three different entities. The Turk does not have any leverage whatsoever on Sky Sports or on the Sky Sports Group. because outside of ESPN, and right now Sky Sports is the biggest sports network in the world, because ESPN doesn't carry boxing and Sky Sports has global boxing right now. They have all types of sports events that go on their network. But long story short, I was like, the Turk is out here looking for a network. The Turk ain't got nothing to do with PBC joining them. That's some goofy shit. And then she brought up PBC. She was saying in the vein of PBC using Tank name as leverage and his numbers to broker a solid deal with the zone. And she was like, what y'all take? So I basically spoke about how in real time people were saying Terrence Crawford was that for Top Rank for the ESPN and the ESPN Plus deal. People were talking in real time about that's the reason why Virgil tried to use the leverage, him and his manager, because Oscar was trying to get was re-signing with the zone with the Virgil versus Boots fight, and Eddie Hearn Boots versus Virgil fight was doing the same basic thing. So she wrote back like, what? I don't understand what you're talking about. I was like, yo, sorry. I just thought I was talking to some. I thought I was talking to a boss, not someone who had an EIN on them. My bad. Yo, she didn't. Well, you don't have to be disrespectful. I wasn't trying to. If we gonna have a conversation, let's have a conversation. And I was like, I was in 100% agreeing with you in the fact that these two fights, Tank is the person with the numbers for PBC. Fights and an individual can be used as leverage. So if you're talking about making a big cross-promotional fight, if this deal goes through and you re-sign, then that's meat on the bone. Something we could chop it up about. You feel what I'm saying? But I'm expecting you to deliver on that fight at some point. You know, so I just couldn't believe I had to write that. Oh, I didn't understand what you were saying at first, but I was like, whoa. Okay, that's a content creator I was talking to as well. So yeah, I just had to be like,
Yeah, with some of these people, man, you gotta realize that they don't understand the golden rule. Is first seek to be understood, and then seek to understand. So a lot of people, man, you gotta try to understand, and like before I even just jump on somebody, first of all, I gotta figure out if they slow. Because if they slow, it's gonna be like taking candy from a baby, and I don't want to do that. Like if they got mental health, they got something going on, okay, I don't want to do that. But you gotta seek to be understood and then to understand. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't get that. They just waiting, and sometimes, especially with people seeing you, you might not think that as many people see or hear you because you're on this channel and it seems like it's a small channel. Those views don't come from nobody, and this is not a casual channel. So all of those views, those 200, 100, like minimum, pretty much it's gonna be 100 people that see these videos, 200 people that see these videos, depending on how hot the topic is. And the way we do it, they're seeing you and hearing you, and they know who you're affiliated with. So sometimes they be trying to get at you just because of your affiliation. So you gotta understand that they're not really seeking to understand. They want to be understood, but they're not seeking to understand. So it's gonna be strife, friction, all of that. You know what I'm saying? When I go somewhere, I seek to be understood, and then I seek to understand. So it's like, okay, I want to make sure I know where everybody's coming from. I want to get, you know, maybe a verification that, okay, this is exactly what I'm understanding what you're saying, right? But I want you to understand where I'm coming from. And then if there's a disagreement, let's hash it out. They don't even get to that point.
Yeah, it's in that same vein. Yeah, I've experienced that. You know, you're cooking on a certain topic, and you're basically exposing everything, and because someone else has a channel and they're on a panel, they want to question you in a manner that's trying to debunk what you're saying or defame what you're saying, how whatever words you choose to say it. So, and one of the ways they do it is a gaslight type question. So it's like, look, I'm not gonna do that with you. I automatically see it, and it's like, I'm just not gonna do that with you. If you want to talk about something else, we could talk about something else. But that part right there, nah, that shit is weird to me. And sometimes you just gotta let it be known like that. But in her situation, and I think in a lot of situations, especially if I'm on a panel, yeah, I get that dynamic. You know, people try to, you know, affiliate certain things, and I'm like, but if y'all actually watch the show, we agree and we disagree. We probably agree 70% of the time, but there is that 30%, and that's a good solid 30% of how we disagree. We may agree on the topic as a whole, but the approach to get there, we could definitely get into a debate about that and have a nice little back and forth about it. You feel what I'm saying? But that's the stuff that makes the show great, because it's not 100%, and sometimes it's between some shows it's a dynamic of 60-40. You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, that's what you would in this type of situation, and you having a co-host. To me, I think that those are good solid numbers. You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, you definitely want to co-host your channel with someone that you're in some degree in agreement more than 50%, because then it'll make it difficult to get through any topic.
Right.
Especially controversial topics. So the dynamic is you want to be a little over 50%, but then there are those episodes where things are going to overlap and that agreement goes up to 70. But on average, you want to stay somewhere between 55 to 60%. And that's where I try to keep it. You know, not on purpose, but it's just the nature of who I am. You feel what I'm saying? And it's the nature of who Body is. You feel me? We have two different approaches. We're from two different geographical locations, although we're on the same border or the same plane or the same line. We're just 2 points on the same line, and that, you know, that's a degree. You feel what I'm saying? And sometimes it arches, and that's when it gets a little bit interesting. But yeah, outside of that, bro, yeah, let's cook on this meat and potatoes part.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into the meat and potatoes, but I wanna bring something to everybody's attention. I like that AZ give me pushback, and that's sometimes like that's what I knew, because everybody know I used to do this shit. I can go 2, 3, and every now and again I'll just say, look, if he's catch the notification, he jump on. But sometimes just to let everybody know, there's no issue with me being able to do this shit by myself. I like having AC there because for the balance or the pushback if there's something, or for me not to be like everybody else to where you have no pushback. You're the only voice. So what you say goes. And I try not to be egotistical, because the worst thing that I feel is to sound like some of these people that I see on sound online. I heard somebody today say that I heard them a couple months ago, and they said that they were autistic. And then today I heard them say that they were a generational genius. Meaning that, like, and really elaborated and said that, yeah, I'm a genius to the point to where I was tested when I was younger, and I was deemed to be a generational genius. And I'm like, see, that's the issue. This is why I never got the cosign from this individual, because I'm going to check that shit at the door. And I know if AC wouldn't be here if I got up here being all haughty and high-minded and acting like I was above everybody and everybody else was a peon, he wouldn't be here. So when it comes to conversations like even with the multi-layered onion of the Earl Spence versus Derrick James thing, I said, listen, man, We got to put this shit to the side because we all dealt with it 3 years ago. The fact of the matter is, if you want to get down to the meat and potatoes, the fact of the matter is that in 2 weeks, there were 2 weeks of sparring. He had switch hitters, meaning that they showed him two different looks. Somebody that can go lefty, somebody can go righty. And within 2 weeks, he got his ribs broke. That's why there was no more sparring. But everybody came out with the knives and the pitchforks trying to point a finger at Earl or trying to point a finger at Derrick James. And I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about? There was no, you can't point a finger at that. Was it Earl's fault because he was able to get hit with a body shot? Can you point it on Derrick James because he said, hey, look, I want to have sparring, but then I told the sparring part, I wanted to tell the sparring part, look, don't go to the body, but they was like, nah, don't do that. So the father came in and said, nah, we're not going to do no sparring. They were trying to make it seem like, oh, man, look, how stupid is that the father got to come in? The father don't run nothing. Earl don't run his business. It's like, no, the father said that because Earl was concealing the shit. Earl was trying to make it seem like everything was all right. And so his father came in and said, hey, man, hey, nah, we can't really do no sparring like that. And at first, Derrick was like, why? Like, hold on, man. Like we got to do some kind of sparring. And once it dawned on him, like, oh, okay, he must be injured. I got to give him the looks. But everybody was with their knives and their pitchforks out trying to point a finger at who's wrong and who's whatever. I'm like, what is the point? What's the point of this? The point is the man had a broken rib. I don't care if Mr. Miyagi with the clapping his hands and rubbing them 1,000 times together and then putting them on the rib to heal it. I don't care if you had Mr. Miyagi in your corner. It was going to be no sparring. What are y'all talking about? What are people talking about? It's dumb. But if you don't have nobody to check you on or say, hey, man, hold on, listen, man, like, look at it from this angle. If you don't ever have no alternative angle, you're going to sound hardy and high-minded, like you know everything. I've never want to come across like that. I hate people like that. I don't like being around people like that, know-it-alls and this and this and that. Like, I never want to get to a point to where I know it all. Because even at 46 years old, I understand, just like Kendrick Lamar, you come to the point to know that you don't know shit. In the grand scheme of things, we don't know shit. We know, but at a certain point, you come down to the point to where you really don't know shit. Stay humble. Stay learning. Stay growing. Stay with people around you that's going to, you know what I'm saying, challenge you, push you, you know, give you pushback, make you critically think. So this channel is never going to be the most popular. It's never going to be the McDonald's of this shit. It's never going to be the 7-Eleven of this shit. We're that novelty bookstore that was like, yeah, you come over because you want to hear, you know what I'm saying, some critically thinking, you want to be challenged. We are for the cerebral, the intellectual. That's what this channel is designed for. That's why I have AC here. He's an intellectual. He could talk about business for hours. We talk about business for hours. We talk about sometimes we talk about boxing for an hour and a half and don't even do a show. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like just knowing where you at and what we want to put into the game. We're not here to be the most popular. We're here to challenge your critical thinking skills and have you look at boxing the way that we feel like, you know what I'm saying, could be contributory to your boxing conversation, so you won't go around sound like a dumbass doing that rote memorization and regurgitation. Like, no, you're going to be like, hold on, man, he did challenge me. He did, hold on, let me sit down and think about it. That's what this channel is for. So we're not going to be the most popular, because we're going to, even if it's hard, even if it's ugly, we're going to disagree. If you saying some bullshit, we're going to disagree. We're going to be like, nah, I don't see it like that. And we'll be at a standstill. Why? Because we even at an age and time where people don't even allow you or don't even want you to disagree with them. I fell out with one of the biggest channels online because he don't like when niggas disagree. I'm like, well, I'm not going to agree with everything, but I'm also going to say something. If I'm good enough to give you a $5 super chat, if I'm good enough to give you a $5 cash app, then I should be good enough to say, oh, no, hold on, I don't agree with that. Without you being pissed off and giving me 86,000 seconds. We don't do that. If you got an issue here, if you got a problem, if you see us, if you see AC somewhere and you know he affiliated over here, just say, hey, look, man, hey, let me come over there on your channel. I'll give you the link and y'all can hash it out. I promise you the mute button, because we won't even mute you. It's a flex for me not to mute you. We just gonna make you sound dumb as fuck and send you back to the drawing board. But if you bold enough, you can come back the next day and ultimately we might be friends. And that's just how, even me and AC, we went at it one time, and that's when I knew the AC. I said, man, that's my dog. Because just like in life, just like growing up, you get in a fight with your best friend. It could be your best friend where y'all, you know what I'm saying, y'all down like 4 flats every day, all day, and y'all going to bump heads. You got, you know, you two straight men with aggression, you're going to bump heads. We bumped heads. We came to understand that AC came right back the next day, and he didn't bring that shit back with him the next day. I didn't bring that shit, whatever it was our disagreement was, or whatever we were saying, you know, we wasn't saying eye to eye on. And I said, you know what, I could rock with somebody like AC. Because we can hash it out, we can duke it out, you know what I'm saying? Then we can go to sleep, wake up the next day, we will come right back and be talking boxing again like that shit never happened. That's life. So that's what this channel is about. This is not a cult-like channel. You don't have to agree with every fucking thing that he say, what I say. He don't have to agree with everything that I say. It's not like that. We do shit. We do real life shit. This is not water cooler talk. We're not trying to be the most popular. We're not trying to get the most votes. This is not political. We don't know everything. We put shit on the table for you to critically think about. That's all it is, because we're in the era now where everything is microwave, where everybody want to get out and be knee-jerk reactionists and put out whatever, and you just supposed to agree and bow down and acquiesce to whatever it is that was outlined for you. It's like, no, we grown men. We don't see everything the same way. Even if you look at the good book, it was 12 disciples. That means it was 12 different perspectives of everything that happened. That means that everything wasn't going to be right and exact. Even if you go to a baseball game, a basketball game, it's different perspectives. Somebody sitting on the east, somebody sitting on the west, somebody sitting on the north, somebody sitting on the south. They're not going to see the same thing. They're going to see something totally different. But if we can't agree on what the score was, that's a problem. Because the score is the score, but how we perceived it is the thing. We perceive things differently. And that's what this channel is about. But I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes. Spence fought like he had a broken rib. He reacted to literally every... Yeah, we all know. That's why I say, like, in hindsight, I'm like, I don't understand Dev. I don't understand what people are really arguing about. Everybody knew that something was wrong with Earl. Everybody know that Earl was going to get in the ring with Manny Pacquiao with a torn retina. He was going to get in there. People say, oh, man, with Derek, he was just around for the ride. I'm like, well, he was the coach. What was he supposed to do? Because if he would have abandoned him and went out and went elsewhere, they would have said, oh, man, Derek, he abandoned Earl in his most inopportune time. He was damned if he do, damned if he don't. But what y'all don't understand is that Derek and Earl, they were able to unify 3 straps in the glamour division. Derek was able to get Jamel Charlo undisputed, picking up belts one by one. All 4 from 4 different fighters. Unlike all the credit that Devin get. But y'all want to discredit Derek James? And the rate ain't the rate. Like, if you look at inflation, that's why I say, man, it's going to make me talk bad about Earl. You know what I'm saying? It's going to make it seem like I'm taking Derek James. But I'm like, no, man, the rate that you had when you was a young buck, that's not going to be the rate that you have when you become a unified 3-strap champion. Like inflation. Have you looked at the price of grits? Have you looked at the price of bread? AC a chef. He could tell you. What was the price of broccoli 3 months ago versus now? It might be 15 cents per pound, but like, shit, that's still like, when you running like, inflation is a motherfucker. And when Derek said, yeah, yesterday's prices ain't today's prices, like, he damn right. Like, that applies to everything in life. But dumbass fans online that had you picking sides and picking scabs over some shit that we dealt with 3 years ago. Everybody know that Earl wasn't Earl when he went in that ring with Bud. Let's get over it. But that's not going to undermine or undermine what the success that Earl had and how he was the man and all the bullshit that Bud did before he got in the ring with his ass finally. It's not going to undermine what the success that Derek James had. Even when Bomac would tell him, you don't know shit about Undisputed. He had already had Jamel Charlo at Undisputed. Nobody caught that but me. And guess who had came out online and said something about it? Me. Even though it was unpopular. It's like I think that Bomac and the shit that he do is like overrated. Like look at what happened with look at what just happened with Torres and Sanchez. Torres got his ass knocked the fuck out. Shit, last year, So Cold, and I like So Cold. So Cold got his ass got his ears boxed off by our guy Diego Pacheco, and then got knocked out by a guy that nobody really knew. But everybody want to default and deflect over the Bomac. Like people don't like the truth, and they do that. But we realize that in all these camps, there's one special guy. Like in that B&B gym, it was Bud. In that Tank camp, it was Tank. More than likely up there with Wally and them, with Wally at, it was Shakur. Everybody else is like, somebody might have some success, but like in most of these camps, it's one diamond in the rough. Every now and again, you'll have success. Like Robert Garcia, he's having success with multiple different guys. But if I come out and say, hey man, if I look at Bomac track record, them niggas look at what happened to Avius Griffith by M hands. He got his ass knocked out on the MVP card. But I'm hating on Bomac because I tell the truth. People don't like the truth. They don't like the truth. And when you say it's like, oh man, you just want to go against the black man. I don't want to hear that black shit. I don't want to hear nothing. No, we go by the truth. We critically thinking here. So when Thomas Hearns lost his first fight to Sugar Ray Leonard, he didn't get rid of Emmanuel Stewart. Instead, they won titles in 4 more weight classes together. Yeah, I don't like that either, Cass. I hate that shit, Cass. I hate when the first time somebody loses. Now, granted, there are cases where, like, yeah, it's ran its course. Like, sometimes these fathers and these sons, like, sometimes it's like, yeah, you need, like, what Brian Norman did. That's why I salute Brian Norman for going to go get with Ronnie Shields. But, like, I hate that when they do that. Like, first time you lose, it's like, oh, it was my coach. Nah, man. Yeah, look at that. Derek cracked the code on Devin too. More than Ryan to put. Exactly. Nobody give like that. That's why I say that. That's why, and people was mad at, and secretly, Dev, you just exposed something. Secretly, that's why a lot of people don't like their games. Because they feel like he told Ryan, you know what I'm saying, what to do. And we see the results of that fight. But let me, with no further ado, because I know this is what people came here for. People came here for this meat and potato. Let's get into this. All of the time, right? And I never understood this. Why? Because if you know Al Heyman, and I noticed that a lot of people, when it comes down to the PBC, they don't do their history. They listen to their favorite channel, and because it's popular to hate, it's popular to virtue signal against the PBC, that they do not do their homework on why Al even got in the business. Al got in the business because he had a brother. And he saw what was going on with his brother and the career that he had. He was like, damn, man, boxers really need a quality of life afterwards. And so that was like him coming from the music industry. That was his old MO in getting into boxing, so that boxers would have a better future when they put the gloves down. I'm like, how can you not like that? Like when you listen to most of these people, when you're not with them, look at Eddie Hearn's track record. Listen to how he talked about Devin when he was with Devin. Listen to how he talked about Devin when he wasn't with Devin. Look at how, even recently, look at how he talked about Shakur. I think he's the best fighter in the world. And then he go out, and if y'all didn't peep when Boots was getting ready to fight, he said no. He said, listen, you don't got to worry about this guy going in there and trying not to get hit and doing it. He's going to go in there, whatever, like, basically, like, sneak dissing the shit out of Shakur. But listen to how he talked about Shakur when he was under his reins, and listen to how he talked about Shakur when he was after his reins. I have not met a single individual that can tell me how fucked them over. Like, they be trying to go to that Adrian Broner shit, but Adrian Broner didn't even realize he wasn't keeping track of how much money he was spending. I was just allocating his own money to him trying to like help him. Because it was almost like, because think about it in basketball. Think about that, the run that AI had. And if Reebok wouldn't have did what they did with AI, we wouldn't even be talking about AI. AI, he would probably be dead or in jail right now. But the fact that they gave him that contract, they put a certain amount up and said, listen, man, it's not until this point in time in this many years to where you can have access to that. That shit saved AI. But they look at Al like he's the bad guy. So the connotation that was affiliated with PBC was always wrong. It was always down. I'm like, hold on, man. Al has made the most, not just black, but black and brown. Leo Santa Cruz had a son and named him after Al. Eureka. I got an episode on here when I used to do Teddy's Takes. I got an episode on Teddy's Takes when he said, all I want for Christmas is for Al to be my promoter. Why? Teddy Atlas. Look at Teddy Atlas and his history. Like, nobody put a gun to his head to say that at that point in time about Al. He knew that Al was doing big business. Everybody know that when you look at the history and the most biggest fights, where were the most biggest fights? It was with the PBC. With who? Al's guys. Black and brown. So the knock was because I always say that we always have, as Americans, we always have this crazy ass propensity to love all things foreign. If you listen to it in the rap movie, if you got a foreign broad, you got a broad that's from Canada. If you got a broad that's from overseas, look what are the Kardashians? They like Armenian. Like, we got this infatuation with everything foreign. All these foreign cars, all this. So we have a perceived logic that everything that's foreign is more valuable. And that's not really the case. Well, they use that in the sport of boxing to where the DAZN was the next big thing, and people was quoting Leonard and said, man, he fights on the app, where at the time when they were doing it and the way they went about doing it, especially since Eddie and Snake bitten Al, like, there was animosity there. But at the time when they was actually doing it, it was not the right scheme. And when you look at the amount of money that Eddie Hearn has actually lost, it all makes sense. You're talking about billions of dollars that he lost. Everybody want to point the finger to, oh, well, PBC no longer with Showtime and blah, blah, blah. It's like, shit moves on. Shit run its course. But the connotation was that PBC was going out of business. How long they been saying PBC been going out of business? Like, I can't even count. I think, 4 years now? Strong 4 years, but that's been the whole narrative. Any PBC fighters, oh, they don't want to do this. Oh, they don't want to do this. I've never heard a PBC fighter talk about a money problem. Never. Especially like the ones that didn't really create it on it. Like, we know that people spend money on. I've never heard one PBC fighter complain about the money it was getting. Hell, Canelo said Al was the best. He just used that to go over to and milk the shit out of Matchroom, and then he milked the shit out of Turkey. He was the first one to actually get paid way more than market value, even for a guy like Canelo. He was the first one to do that. But the connotation was that Al and them, they didn't want to get down. They didn't want to do this. It's like, no, Al and them were businessmen. They had been doing this shit for a while, and they were all about profit. The same shit that me and AC did. With AC having his own business, with me having my own business, we be looking at profit. We don't be looking like, oh yeah, we can go over there and get this free ski whiskey. Yeah, we're gonna go get a bunch of PPP loans. We know, oh, hold on, man, they gonna check this shit. They know the ramifications of it. We not gonna go do no dumb shit. We looking at it from a business wise, like what's gonna make profit, what's gonna make sense. Can we gradually build? Can we gradually scale? You know what I'm saying? That's always been the thing with PBC. But the knock was like, oh, everybody's getting with the zone. Everybody blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, Turkey came in through a monkey wrench of it. He spoiled a lot of these boxers, right? And then it was a wake-up call for all these promoters. They all were talking about doing shit in-house. Eddie Hearn was talking about doing shit in-house. They all pointed the knives and the pitchforks at Floyd Mayweather. Well, he said, yeah, we looking at doing in-house. Everybody and their mother made videos about that video when he was with Tank. And he said, yeah, we looking at doing everything in-house. But Bob was saying everything in-house. Think about it. Bob had Loma, Shakur, and Tio in-house. All he was talking about was in-house, but Floyd in the PBC got all the flack. Eddie, he was talking about doing everything in-house. And guess what? Even though he was talking about doing everything in-house, Andre never got a fight with Triple G. Andre never got a fight with Canelo. These are facts. So long story short, it comes all the way up to where it's a press conference. It's finally announced that PBC is actually joining DAZN. And I said, Eureka. No more locked doors. No more sides of the street. And guess what happened? Shakur goes to Zuffa Island. Golly. That boy is pussy. Like, I don't know how y'all want to, you can love the sweet sides, you can love the hit and not get hit, but right when the final piece that everybody's waiting for, where everybody's on one platform, on DAZN, Golden Boy, Matchroom, PBC, everybody's all under one umbrella. And this nigga decides to go to Zuffa Island. Or like AC say, the Isle of Zuffa Monroe. If that don't tell you that he pussy, I don't know what is. And I don't know if AC got anything, but I got something I can pull up that we can get into and we can react to.
Yeah. This is where I wanted to start, because when Shakur went over to do this, and a couple of dudes tried to at least attempt to start a debate, but once I started expressing my knowledge in this particular area, they then got quiet and said some other stuff. But at first I was looking at the Muhammad Ali Act, and we have it on record and stuff like that. Also, we have on record where Malazar was talking about the UBOs and stuff like that. And within the very first paragraph, it was always stated all of the organizations that the sanctioning bodies and all of the organizations that encompass the Ali Act and things like that. So the UBO that works with sanctioning bodies, the FTC and the ABC, which is the Association of Boxing Commission. The FTC is the Federal Trade Commission and things like that. The UBO that works with them is now taken out of the Ali Act as it's placed online, because it used to be right there. Now, in order for you to distinguish nowadays, and I don't know if that's something a lobbyist did when they just kind of did a quick update redraft of it, but most of the language is from the original text, but you can tell where they made certain changes, because at the bottom of it talks about amends the Act 2, and these amends the Act are things that you're like, oh, those are some of the points that if you watch the Senate and the House hearing on Zuffa and stuff like that, you'll hear these same things in the same verbiage. Now, to go and find out the difference between the type of UBO Zuffa is, because if you just straight up type in what is a UBO, it's just going to come up with Zuffa. It's not even going to tell you the difference between the two. Zuffa is under what's called a it's under the, let me make sure I'm just looking for it to make sure I get the different terminology, because it's all in the first word. Okay, Zuffa is under the Unified Boxing Organization, which is a UBO. That's a UBO model. The UBO that deals with the sanctions are called the Universal Boxing Organization. Remember the difference between the two, because one, it says it deals with a tournament style. They just took what the organization that mainly dealt with what you would call amateur boxing and just pumped that shit on steroids to try to make it work for boxing. And that's where you get Zuffa from. And that's why it's a UBO model and not a UBO per se as it is with the Universal. So if you can understand the difference between the two, then you can kind of have a starting point of understanding what Shakur actually did and what he actually signed up for. And this is where you're saying to yourself, where those of us who are diehard boxing fans but may not go into depth with Google and that type of stuff, you just had this feeling that something is not right. Like, yeah, it seems as though it's a duck, but I can't really put my finger on it. Okay, now you can. Because if you understand what these UBOs are and where Shakur was, they're looking for this man to come over because they say, yeah, Shakur's supposed to be the face of boxing. Everybody's talking about Shakur. Shakur moves the needle. And then you wonder why after that fight, all the exuberant talk was around this dude. After the Teofimo fight, after the Padley fight, after, after the Zepeda fight. It's to build the internet algorithm history. So when you make your offer, yeah, Shakur, we know how you move the needle. Here's the data that actually says it. So you're gaslighting him while you know you're only using his name to promote a company that is full of shit. You feel what I'm saying? Because they're telling you the best are going to fight the best, but we haven't seen that yet. You're not going to tell me De Los Santos and whoever he just fought where De Los Santos got knocked out, those are the two best fighters. Berlanga is not the best. Hitchens could have been in that category, but he went in the direction he went in. Obataya could have been in that category, but he didn't stick around to just deal with the arrangement and the verbal arrangements that was being stated about him and Benavidez moving up. So you go and fight a guy that's already in the IBF rankings, you lose your belt, and you still go ahead with that fight. You feel what I'm saying? Zuffa can't sue you at that point because then you're under the protections of the Muhammad Ali Act. And that specific part that you would be under is in one of the acts where it talks about what sanctioning bodies are privy to and what they cannot do. And being that this thing is a UBO, within what they're trying to do with a sanctioned fighter, now you got a machine behind you. And all you had to do was just steadfast, stay with the IBF. They would have backed you, got you out of that bullshit signing or whatever, and said, look, we'll put on the fight, but your trinket is not on the line, and his proceeds will go back to pay, blah, 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 blah. We'll work it out like that. But no, you're not going to screw this dude over. So he didn't do anything like that. And I don't even know the privy of something like that even being possible, because that's something for actual litigation. But it's just my take and just how I would kind of see it as a common sense type of thing, knowing who's behind you and knowing where you originally signed your contract with your promoter and everything else. And pretty much signing the paperwork when you said you wanted to be ranked under this boxing organization. So that was a standing contract. And there you go.
And for me, when people don't, let's read between the lines. Let's like Michael Collier say, I want you to juice that noodle I want y'all to juice that noodle, and I want y'all to think back, because your boy Bodywork was telling y'all like a minute ago. I said, man, Shakur was already being courted by Eddie, and Eddie was already taking the position of being his promoter before he was even signed. And I said, hold on, man, that's like a conflict of interest. It's like in football free agency, you can't court nobody. Like if you're a free agent before that it's a period in football before you can even pursue, or let's just say, and I know this happened, they might see you at a bar or see you out and about, and a little guy in a suit might come up and be like, hey man, let me talk to you for a second. That's really against the law. It's called poaching. You can't do that. But Eddie was outright poaching, like, because we all know that at the time, to give y'all a little bit of history. At the time, Shakur was on Top Rank. There were 3 belts on his side: Loma, him, and Keyshawn. Well, Baranchek really had it, but like Keyshawn ultimately went and gotten the belt from them. But then Tank was on the outside looking in. They had offered him a 6-fight, $18 million minimum deal. A lot of people want to say, oh man, $18 million, he get more than that, blah, blah. That was minimum, meaning if it was pay-per-view, it would have been more of an upside for it. He, in record-breaking fashion, I think it was more like 13 days, and I told y'all that Eddie was outright courting him and talking about him like he was already signed. Like they had already done the deal behind closed doors, and it was one of the things to where the public didn't really know it, but if you was really watching and paying attention, you'd have connected them dots like we did. Well, in record-breaking fashion, he went over to Matchroom. He left that deal. Tim Bradley and them was scoring. Why? Because he said Jermaine Ortiz had a contract that was signed that had Shakur's name on it. If you connect the dots, well, Jermaine Ortiz, who did he fight? He fought Loma. Who else did he fight? He fought T.O. So you trying to tell me he wouldn't have fought Shakur? He had a signed contract. Navarrete had a signed contract with Shakur's name on it. Who did he fight? Conceição. Who did Shakur fight? Conceição. You trying to tell me he wouldn't have got a Navarrete? So he went over to Matchroom on an island and then told Eddie and them not to make a deal with Tank. When Espinosa and them, when the team, when Tank team reached out, they were saying they wanted more than a 1-fight deal. They wanted a multi-fight deal. Tank wasn't calling this man for crumpets and tea or to go to Top Golf. That's not what that was about. That was about making a fight. He turned that down. Tank still get all the flack for not wanting to fight him and being a duck. And that was the second option because he gave an option to Loma first. And Loma said, no, it's not about the money. It's family time. And granted, Loma had just went through the war and all this and all that. If y'all want to play that game, okay, cool. Both of them fights for both of them individuals would have been the biggest fights of their career. Point blank, period. Loma benefited from the clout chase of Tank Davis when he was the A side. No pressure in him making it. It was all on Tank and Floyd because they didn't make it. But Tank get all the pressure at the A side for fights not going down. We fast forward to now, where PBC finally joins it to where there's no sides of the streets. There's no more locked doors. Gracias, PBC. And Shakur found himself on Zuffa Island. Now, we also know, because we cannot pick and choose, we cannot be bisexual boxing fans wanting to have it both ways, because the Plant Cigar Talk came out. He had the guy from the WBO over there on his channel. The guy from the WBO said that, well, if they do the right things and they basically register to do, He basically said if they if they do the right steps, then they would actually be able to bid on these fights or whatever. And what are you getting at, Mike? If you listen, I'm gonna tell you, right? He came out and said that the guy from the WBO said that if they did what was necessary to do for them to be able to bid, then it would be no problems. But to this day, in Deontay Wilder fashion, they didn't do what they needed to do to be able to bid on no fight with the WBO. So what did that tell you? I want you to juice that noodle. That means that the same shit that just happened with Yao Patai and how he was relieved of his IBF strap and how Richardson Hitchens had to be relieved of his strap with Shakur Stevenson being over there with the WBO. Even though they're trying to make it as if they can do whatever. I'm going to get ready to play something. As if they can do whatever. We have no proof of that. And once again, we'll be getting taken for the benefit of the doubt. The same way that I told y'all that Chris Big Head Blue Suits Mannix came out on May 30th. It's July 9th. And we just now got this news. So from May 30th to July 9th, we gave him the benefit of the doubt. He was able to run around and clout chase and say all this and say all that and be elusive and do all these things. We just didn't get confirmation until today. And I told y'all, it's been a year and a half where I stopped giving Shakur and them the benefit of the doubt. You said it appears Shakur trying to make the fights harder to make. Exactly, bro. This is the second time, Cass. That's why I say we're in the same sheet of music. You heard what you smelled what The Rock was cooking. I was saying that it was crazy that he would go over there saying that he wanted a Tank fight and then go over to Eddie Hearn and them on an island where Top Rank had 3 belts, Tank had 1 belt on the PBC, and he go over there and tell Eddie, hey, don't even try to make that fight. But then Tank got all the flack for ducking. Well, now PBC is with everybody else on the same platform. AC got confirmation as to why Fundora probably didn't duck Boots. Why? He was waiting for an announcement. And when I heard the press conference and I heard Fundora say what he said, well, listen, now all these fights can happen. What's going to be the excuse now? He said, now we can all get along. Like, it's the get along gang. And ironically, they wait till a day when the PBC announces that they officially with Zuffa, with DAZN, that they announced that Shakur's with Zuffa. What did that tell y'all? But listen to this. Don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. And I gotta do this because this is not my material. And I be like they love to copyright me because I be speaking too much facts, too much truth. But for copyright purposes, I gotta put this up. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act 1976, allowances made for fair use purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use. Tips the balance in favor of fair. Whenever we have a conversation over here, that's all we try to do is tip the balance in favor of fair. But I want y'all to see this. So y'all know that I'm not tripping. And I gotta be the interpreter on this one. Let me be the interpreter on this one. And it's very short. It's very short. So bear with me.
How do I say goodbye to Shakur Stevenson? Man, y'all ain't see that yet? Shakur Stevenson, yeah, he signed with Zuffa. What we've been saying for months? Yeah, let us know what we've been saying for months. I told y'all, hey, that money is too damn good to turn down. Yeah, he about to make his family rich.
My only problem, when a boxer come out and tell you that, hey man, I'm out that bread. Like Tank did. Tank never denied. That's why I said you gotta respect Tank. Tank never said, "Oh, I'm about legacy. I'm about this." Now he happened to do legacy, in which people don't give him credit for. But he always said, "I'm about that money." But ain't it funny? Ain't it funny how the first thing he say, and Tim, oh, he about to make his family very rich. Y'all remember when Tank said, "Oh man, I'll fight Kambosos. I'll fuck him up." He said, "Man, I'll fight him." He said, "Matter of fact, keep them belts." He said, "I'll fight him for free." And he said, "No, not for free, but I'll fuck him up. But he can keep them belts." Remember? Because he was the first one saying about the sanctioning bodies and all that. He was, well, actually the second one, because Floyd actually said something. That's why Floyd would win something and then drop them belts or whatever. But ain't it funny how Tim all of a sudden is he's basically making an excuse, saying, "Oh man, yeah, he's gonna make a lot of money for his family." Ain't it crazy how they always understand when it's a guy that they're rooting for, or a guy that's in their back pocket, or that they have an affinity for, where they're making money for their family, but it's not even across the board. Especially when you're a money man like Tank. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
Real rich signing with Zuffa. That's for damn sure. Yeah, I told y'all just yesterday. I said, hey, this man might be getting ready to fight. Who? Yeah, you know, Ryo, yeah.
So, he might be getting ready to fight Ryo, but when Ryo called him out, guess what Shakur came on and said? "I'd rather fight Gary Antoine." Why would you say you'd rather fight Gary Antoine? Now, we getting an official announcement on the 9th, today. But when Ryu called you out, you said you'd rather fight Gary Antoine. Don't y'all find that the key word of the month, disingenuous? Wouldn't you find that to be disingenuous? Let's continue.
For that damn Zuffa belt, all right, say what you want to say. Call it protective services. Call it whatever you want.
Let's do a little bit of reverse psychology. Why would we call it protective services? Because that's what it is. You going away from the smoke, bro. Who is over there on Zuffa for you to fight, bro? You said you would rather fight Gary Antoine, but then you go sign with Zuffa officially. And more than likely, who's on the slate? If it's anybody but El Rayo, then I'll be like, damn, I'll be flabbergasted. But like, is that not disingenuous, y'all? Or Body just making up shit?
You saw that Dr. De La Hoya yesterday came out with, hey, the fact that, hey, my guy, Ryan Garcia gonna fight Conor Ben. So guess what? You can get dibs after that. Anyways, hey, Tim Desert Storm Bradley, you already know the damn rest. And
All right, Shakur, so, starting with the basics, how did this decision for you to sign with Zuffa come about?
This decision of me signing with Zuffa came about, my team, my managers, Jay Prince and Josh Dubin, they went out there and they found the best available deal for me. And we here to conquer and make sure that we take over the game. So they definitely did.
Conquer and take over what? PBC, Matchroom, Top Rank. All of the major players are over there on the zone.
Did a great job with this deal, though.
You kind of touched on it already, you brought me right to it. What is the difference that Zuffa and Dana White have compared to the competitors?
I'm an honest man, so we gonna see. But far as
we gonna see. Blind, that's called blind faith. Like, what is the answer? Like, He said, what do they have? Like, before you sign on the dotted line, let's play that again.
To the competitors.
You know, I'm an honest man, so we gonna see.
Nervous laughter, and we gonna see. No straight answer, bro. No straight answer.
But far as like me meeting with them and getting to actually sit down and talk to both of them one-on-one, they seem like a lot cooler than what you hear about, and they gave me a lot of genuine vibes. So I appreciate them, and
just genuine vibes. Go on, sit down on this couch, young man. Oh yeah, I feel good. This is good vibes in here. Just sit on the couch, man. Just have a seat, man. Relax. You know what I'm saying? Relax your muscles.
I'm glad that we got this done, but shit, this is just life changing, so I enjoy it.
You know,
y'all know there's no real answer. He asked this man what was the difference between what they and them offer and what everybody else offer. It was a nervous laugh. We gonna see, and I got genuine vibes. Nothing to see here.
Bringing the life into it. Do you see this as the next chapter in your career and in your life?
Yeah, I do. I see it as me setting an example. I feel like I'm the best fighter on their roster, as I told them when I seen them.
So who you gonna fight? If you're the best fighter on their roster, who you gonna fight? You said Gary Antoine as opposed to El Ryu. So if he go fight El Ryu, that's a whole cook session where we can flambe this nigga for being disingenuous. But then again, like, boxing fans don't really like the truth.
And there's gonna be a lot of big things with this. I feel like it's gonna be setting an example, and a lot of people gonna follow my lead. And
what lead? Richardson Hitchens already did it. John Patel already did it. Bum-ass Berlanga already did it. El Ryu, De Los Santos. What lead, bro? What lead? What lead are you like? What lead are you setting? Like, what are you? Okay, let's move on.
I'm going to enjoy that.
Trendsetter, baby, trendsetter. You know, there's gonna be those who criticize you for signing here. Obviously, you know, all the noise. What do you have to say to them?
I mean, critics don't be critics. They've been critics my whole career. I've been hearing them say, "Oh, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do that." I done heard this 500 times before, so clearly the critics are always wrong. They damn near 100% wrong most of the time, so let them criticize. And
so let's see if I'm wrong. I got $100 if I'm wrong. So if you watching this live, hold me to it. I got $100. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Just understand this. With this new deal, I can make any fight that I want in the sport of boxing. There's no restrictions. It's not I can't fight this guy. Boxing is not the same no more. Boxing is a lot different. So the critics got to get past.
Let's hold him to this. He said he can. Now, how is that going to work? I'll be curious to hear from AC. I'm going to let it play out, AC. But I'll be curious to know how the fuck is he going to make this work.
Thinking in the old mindset. What the new mindset is, the best fighting the best, and I'm all for it, and I think Zuffa is all for it too, so let's do it.
So real quick, if he can make any fight, the fact that he signed to Zuffa, but he said he'd rather fight Gary Antoine instead of El Ryu, then we should be getting him versus Gary Antoine in the unification next, right? Right? So if I'm right, and we get a him versus Ryu versus a him versus Gary Antoine, then you give me $100. How'd that sound?
Amen. Amen. You are undoubtedly, you know, one of the best in your division, largely considered.
We don't know if he's the best in that division. He beat T.O., who's up and down. Many of us got Rolly beating the shit out of T.O., even though T.O. is up and down.
Top 5 pound for pound, you know.
Top 3.
Top 3, there you go, love it. What do you bring to the ring that no other fighter does?
I just bring a certain intelligence about me. I don't really say that I have a style. A lot of people say that they got a style. I can do it all. I can do it all. Whatever it takes that need to get done, get the job done, I will do. So that's what I bring to the table. That's who I am. I think I'm way different than these other guys. I know how to adapt. I think that's the biggest word when it comes to I know how to adapt. And I don't think these guys really know how to adapt like me.
You know, in the last fight against Tio, it was nothing short of a masterclass. You went in there and walked him down. Are you only getting better? Have we?
You walked Tio down? Raise your hand if y'all saw Shakur Stevenson walking Tio down.
Seen all of Shakur Stevenson?
Man, that's a real question. Nah, y'all have not seen all of me. I'm still evolving. Like, I'm still getting better. I'm still getting stronger. I know that if you stay stuck in one spot, a lot of people will surpass you. But through the years, my main thing is to get better and evolve. And I think with the Tio fight, it just showed that I'm not even on the same level I was 3-4 months before that fight. I'm on a different level every day. I'm just getting better. Every day I'm evolving through life. So in the future, I think that they're gonna see a lot more of that. And as it keep going, I'm gonna keep getting better. So
In that fight alone, you shut up a lot of critics. What's next for Shakur Stevenson? Who do you have your eyes sight on?
Man, any of these guys, it's hard to just name one name because when you name one name,
We still getting like, when was that Tio? When did he beat Tio? Was that January? Still don't have no definite, concrete opponent as to who's next. But we giving motherfuckers like him the benefit of the doubt. Well, Tank can't get no slack. Nobody else can get no slack for nothing.
People tend to think that you're scared of the other names. So it's so many different guys, and my main thing is the best available opponent. Whoever is out there that's the best available opponent, I'm down to fight. I'm not ducking and dodging nobody. So I think guys would best suit them to duck and dodge me because I'm coming.
We saw you in January. When can we see you next? You know, does this mean more activity for Shakur?
Coming for who? This gotta be the softest interview ever.
For Stevenson?
For sure. Like I said, I work on my time though. Long as I'm healthy and everything is good outside the ring, then inside the ring I'll be there and I'll show up. So as far as when I will fight, I leave that up to Zuffa and my team and everybody put that together. But
so he don't got no choice in who he fight. We told y'all that this is an identity crisis. Like when you go over there, you see them guys, you can't come out there with the like all that shit people be wearing. It's gonna be Zuffa down. He's gonna be Zuffa down. Zuffa poncho, Zuffa shorts, Zuffa, etc., etc., etc.
For me personally, I would like to fight as much as possible.
You know, you said before, if two fighters say, let's fight, I think the business of boxing shouldn't get in the way.
Facts.
Do you see this as your opportunity to get those fights that you've wanted?
I know. I already know. I understand what I'm doing.
So how did that work out for John Batar? When all he had to do was sit still. He could still fought Brandon Glanton, who was in the IBF rankings, where all Zuffa do is plug people from the traditional sanctioning bodies, pay, overpay them to come over and over and, fight another guy. And I said, you got to be leery because for everybody they get, they got to get an opponent. And are they going to get an opponent that's worthy enough to beat them? Something to think about.
And what I've been doing, if you pay attention to my last few fights, it was fights that I probably never even thought could even get done because of the business of boxing.
His last few fights, he thought could never even get done because of the business of boxing. Listen up, dummies. He fought Teofimo Lopez. Had he stayed with Top Rank instead of going to go get a 5-fight deal with Eddie, or whatever that deal was he had, he would have got TO. How did he, if he thought the business of boxing wouldn't have been able to get the fights done, yet he's on record saying that he chased Williams Zepeda, which I said was ludicrous, and having a champion chase a mandatory for 2 years. His words. So what's few? So few is what, 3? Because a couple is 2. So let's go back before that. It would have been Schofield. So he thought the business of boxing wouldn't have made that fight, but guess what? That fight was made. Schofield got tapped on the shoulder and got pulled out, and he chose Josh Padley instead of Kurt Scobie or JD Herrera. This nigga is capped.
But the business of boxing is not in the way no more. I think with Zuffa, with Turkey backing Zuffa, it just...
And remember, on Bodywork, we told y'all that Zuffa, from the very beginning, we don't get no credit. Me and AC don't get no credit. They'll try to tell you that these 3 other people always be putting it out, but it's funny how we'll come out one in the nighttime and say something, then the next day, and then the next day after, and the next day after, 3 other people will come out and say it, and they'll get all the credit for saying it. But I was the first channel to come out here and tell y'all that Zuffa was nothing more than a feeder system for the ring in Turkey. Why? Because Turkey's behind Zuffa. He owned almost half of it.
So much in the sport of boxing that can get done. So any of these guys want to say, oh, they want to fight Shakur, you want to fight Shakur, then sign it up. I'm ready.
One of them guys has been Tank.
And how is that where one of these guys say, sign it up, I'm ready? Like, I thought the A side, because when it come down to Tank, he's responsible for sending all the offers. And when motherfuckers like Lomachenko say no, when Shakur say no, when Schofield overpriced himself and damn near say no, and Shakur go sign with Zuffa, it's Tank fault. But when it comes to Shakur, if any of these guys want to fight, sign it up, let's go. How does that work? I thought you the A side, aside from Tank, you the A side to everybody else, right? Cap.
Davis recently, do you think that is something we can see transfer from Twitter to the ring?
Once again, I'm down to fight whoever. I ain't into naming no names right now, but I'm.
When can we get some names? You said no to Ashaki. Well, he better be ready when we make the call. What was the call? Ashaki said he's still waiting for the call. This nigga is cap.
And whoever, y'all say the name, y'all bring the contract to my table, let's make it happen.
Do you agree that could be a generational super fight, though?
For sure. I think that's the biggest fight in the sport.
That's the biggest fight in the sport. He saw that the shit soured with Devin and Tank. With Tank offered this nigga 70-30 at 144. But he go sign with Zuffa. No accountability, no pressure from his OnlyFans, the Shakurians, none of that. He just get to be so passive in case of Sarah. And people like Tim Bradley say, oh man, he gonna make his family a lot of money. Well, fighting Tank could have made his family a lot of money. I'm almost betting it would be more money than Zuffa would give him.
You know, there's been speculation also about Devin Haney. Do you see that fight coming into fruition? And, you know, what makes that style such an entertaining fight?
It's just 2 fighters who've been doing this for a long time. They have a lot of history. And I think with Devin is a tremendous fighter. He's tremendous at what he does. I'm way better than him as a fighter, in my opinion. But like I said, if it come across my table, I'm down to fight whoever and whenever.
Last thing, just send a message to the rest of your division.
Listen to the question, y'all. Listen to the question and then listen to his response.
It's just 2 fighters who've been doing this for a long time. They have a lot of history, and
speculation also about Devin Haney. Do you see that fight coming into fruition? And, you know, what makes...
Do you see that fight coming into fruition? That's question one. And do you see that fight, blah, blah, blah.
Is that style such an entertaining fight?
It's just two fighters who've been doing this for a long time. They have a lot of history, and I think with Devin is a tremendous fighter. He's tremendous at what he does. I'm way better than him as a fighter, in my opinion, but like I said, if it come across my table, I'm down to fight whoever and whenever.
Last thing, just send a message to...
Another passive approach. If it come across my table, if Dana and them put him on my board, but how can Dana and them do that if he with the WBO with a mandatory on deck and you didn't want to do it with the 144? Cap!
The rest of your division and the fans out here.
My message is get out my way because I'm coming. I remember that I was slept on. A lot of people went against me. I feel like I beat the system now, and now that I beat the system, I'm about to stomp the door down. I'm about to just everybody. So just get out my way.
AC, man. Talk to me, man.
Well, I'm gonna start here again, and just so we understand, listen to what he just said, and his plans, and his goals, and his mission statement. And if you're a business person, and this young man was sitting there asking you for a loan to buy his attention, his time, and his support, that's what you're buying into. Right? And then you match that with what he is bringing to you that backs his representation. So first of all, let's understand that the Obatai situation made it clear. Zuffa wants nothing to do with the sanctioning belts or anything like that. If you're going to fight for Zuffa, you're going to fight for a Zuffa belt. You're going to wear the Zuffa uniform and all of that other stuff, right? Everything is under Zuffa. The Unified Boxing Organization, or UBO model, UBO also refers to league-style entities authorized under the proposed Muhammad Ali Boxing Revival Act. Under current federal law, the Ali Act, promoters, managers, sanctioning bodies are required to be separate entities to prevent conflicts of interest. The proposed UBO model, that's why it's different in the wording and how you read it. The proposed UBO model would act as a one-stop shop that handles matchmaking, rankings, and fighting promotional simultaneously. Similar to organizational structure of the UFC and MMA, right? So the UFC has its own belt. It operates under its own umbrella. And the money is distributed how the shareholders and everyone else agrees to, whatever, by their own bylaws. If this particular UBO has bylaws, I know the sanctioning bodies, they all have bylaws. This is their governing law. They say to you when you start a nonprofit, there is going to be so much money that comes through your hands in the forms of donations, lobbies, and all kind of stuff that we're giving you tax exempt, so you're pretty much not paying any taxes on that. So within that type of power, we're going to grant you the ability to self-govern, and if you don't self-govern properly, we will take that from you, and all of that money you just saw is going to be temporary, and then you'll have to deal with the criminal prosecutions after that. But if you can self-govern, you can do your thing, right? That's where he was. Where he's at right now, one man or a handful of people control your entire fate. So you're saying it would be easier to make fights, right? You had a fight deal. All of those fights were some of the names you were pissed off that you couldn't get, but we deduced that some of those names have to be on that list. We heard Bob Arum say things early on that, you know, Shakur just needed to really understand that there were two other guys that are more valuable to the company. They actually bring the views, they bring the entertainment factor. That's Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. You were there with those guys. If you felt the way you felt, you would have challenged those guys, told Bob, okay, let's scrap the tank fight. If I beat Tio and Loma, let me get the tank fight. Easy done deal. You feel what I'm saying? If we're looking at the way Abdullah Mason is moving and how Top Rank is supporting them, same way they were supporting Brian Norman, you can kind of see that there's a dynamic there. Now, you asked the WBC, a sanctioning body you was under, you asked the WBC to do you a solid. Let me go up there and challenge this dude. It's the WBC champion at this weight, challenging the lineal and WBO champion at a higher weight class. They said, sure, okay. And you know what? Since it's not all within the one weight class, we have the ability to adjust the sanctioning fee. Here it is, but we're willing to forego the sanctioning fee and we'll give you this belt and do some other things for you. Nah, I'm good. I just want to go up there and get that jump off with the WBO. Okay, cool. So now you go up there and do it, and then you want to flip the script on the sanctioning body that helped you, that you just said the business of boxing gets in the way of fights, but it did not get in the way of you versus Teofimo Lopez. It did not get in the way of you versus Zepeda. Did not get in the way with you versus Paddy. It was a late replacement. You had three choices. You chose the easier one. That's the guy you got in the ring with. The business of boxing got in the way when you wanted to leapfrog other stars that had more views than you, are easier to market than you. That's what the business of boxing was. So you go over to a spot where you're going to deal with a handful of people that don't know shit about boxing, and you're gonna blow smoke up their ass the same way they did. And we at the end of the day, here's the thing that's crazy. On the other side of the fence you just came from the other side of town you just came from, when you sign a deal, it's normally that they may announce what the deal was, how many fights, what was the pay per deal. This nobody knows nothing. I don't know how many fights you're gonna have. I don't know what the deal takes, and then somebody's probably going, no, it was just $60 million. So then I would ask them, I said, okay, so Shakur's number 3 on the pound for pound list. Devin Haney is further down on the pound for pound list. How is Devin Haney getting more money than the number 3 guy? Because Devin Haney's deal, they're being vocal about it. They're getting $100 million. Shakur came out and said, oh, we're getting 60. Bill and Dev team come out and say, oh, yeah, he getting 60, but we getting 100. How does the number 3 pound for pound guy that just did that had this miraculous performance of his last couple of performances, like, how does he not get the top dollar when they're saying you're the face of boxing right now? Like, how did Devin Haney, what did Devin Haney bring to the table that you didn't bring to the table that got Devin Haney his alleged $100 million? Sometimes you just got to ask some of these questions, because you just looking at a dude talking to you and you like, you know, we used to have a saying in Brooklyn, you're nothing me. You're nothing me to death. You're not saying nothing and you keep talking about nothing. You're nothing the shit out of me right now, bro. Shut up. The fuck wrong with you? And that's what Shakur just did on that interview. He absolutely said nothing. He said, listen, I'm an honest man. He was asked a question. He had the nervous laughter and then said, well, you know, I'm an honest man.
He nothing does, AC.
For real.
And look, to your point, the point when you said Bob was pulling for Loma and he was pulling for T.O. But even look at once Shakur departure, look at how they gave Keyshawn carte blanche. And people won't recognize this. Why? Because Keyshawn is a more entertaining fighter.
Yeah.
But they gave him carte blanche and he wet the bed. Look at what they did with that. Look at what they doing with Abdullah Mason. Look at what they did with Jared Anderson before he said, hey, I'm gonna go take this bag and try to go get with Bacola, and Bacola hit him with the motherfucking big right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so Top Rank was willing to, you know what I'm saying, put it behind, but like for some reason.
See, here it is. I'm gonna explain it to you. Shakur was jealous as hell that Devin was franchise champion. Because we heard the talking points of franchise champion and how the franchise champion was supposed to move per Mauricio Suleiman. You can make any fight you want. Things don't get in the way. If you listen to what he just described, he's just describing his Zuffa contract as a glorified franchise belt. Oh, well, it's going to be easier. Nothing gets in the way of the business of boxing. That's the same shit Suleiman said when he brought out the franchise belt. Sometimes it's a little weird, you know, different people's minds make connections in different ways. And, you know, sometimes when someone says something, one thought may come up, and then on the opposite side of the fence, another thought may come up. And that's what happened to me. It drew me right back to where I listened to what Suleiman was saying in the description and reading what the description was of the franchise belt. No restrictions. Do what the fuck you want. Go out, we'll give you carte blanche to make all the money in the world. So Dev got that. So now Shakur's like, yeah, now I'm a franchise. I'm the Zuffa franchise. I'm like, whoa, bro. So you basically Coca-Cola with the polar bear at Christmas with the scarf on and the sled. That's what the fuck you are, bro. A collectible item. Something in a package. You feel what I'm saying? Sanitized. You're the fucking Pokemon card in a fucking plexiglass case. Look but don't touch. And that's what the fuck you did when you went over to Zuffa. You stepped into that plexiglass case and you was like, y'all can look, but you can't touch me now. You feel what I'm saying? So who is he gonna fight over there? We're not hearing any deals on money. So how are you gonna kick doors in? How are you gonna tell people to get out of your way when you're over there? And they don't wanna fuck with anybody over here. See, you pulled that shit back in the day that I can recall that set the Black American boxing community on fucking fire. And this gonna fuck with Body a little bit too, because he gonna remember it, and you know what I'm saying? He gonna be like, nah. AC, you gotta let me cook on this one too. Remember when Bud was talking about, yeah, there was Sean Porter, there was, you know, Danny Garcia, all of these PBC fighters that were fights for Bud, and Bob comes out and says, we tried to make the fights, but he don't want to fight them. He don't want to make the fights. So you go ahead and you do some shit like that. And then when Bud re-signed to Top Rank, knowing that he was talking about all of these fights he wanted with PBC fighters and how we were like, nah, Bud need to go over to PBC because Al just said, going back to what Body said, everything in-house. And that's what led me to bring up this point when Al said everything in-house. You had every goddamn body, every blood clot, one of them. You done know. You feel what I'm saying? So you had everybody. Even Canelo was over there. And at that time, Bud re-signed to Bob. Everybody, every channel that I was subscribed to was cooking the shit out of Bud. Why the fuck would you sign back to Bob Arum? But all the fights is right there at PBC. Like, what are you afraid of the smoke at PBC? What are you afraid of? Blah, 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 blah. You feel what I'm saying? Just demolished him. Shakur was basically in that same situation as a free agent. And what did he do? He went over to the one place that makes it damn near impossible without coming back and crossing that side of the street to make those fights. He pulled the Bud 2.0 or 2.1. And then people were saying that, yeah, Bud used that to wiggle some space and get some of these fights to acclimate himself to 47. You feel what I'm saying? Or completely dodge the smoke. Whatever the case may be, whatever the talking points may be, whatever the side of the fence you want to be on, Lil Bro just did the same thing with going over to Zuffa. If you compare the situations, you overlap them, and you say, all right, why would you do this? What is the business reasons of doing this? And okay, the business reasons, okay, are money. But then you have to justify the money based on the opponent. And then that has to be justified by, is the general public, is the boxing public going to be interested in watching Shakur Stevenson beat up or beat on cherry picks, the Zuffa cherry picks? This is the question boxing fans have to ask themselves. And Zuffa right now is using him as leverage, as the commodity, to try to think that, yeah, Shakur Stevenson really has that kind of pull. And if you bought that shit from Andre Ward, you bought that bullshit from Timothy Bradley, you bought that bullshit from Terrence Crawford, Clarissa Shields, Max Kellerman, the whole fucking panel of Ring Magazine, if you bought that bullshit, bro, these niggas got you. They got you. And Dana, I thought you was a streetwise type business person. You came in and you could see the bullshit. You know who's a punk. The way you used to talk to dudes on your own show. You feel what I'm saying? On when they was in the house, whatever the UFC, whatever that show was called. You're like, you know, fights are being offered to you guys and guys are not turning it, and you're in the same goddamn house. That is punk. We're not gonna stand for it. One guy got injured, he can't fight. I'm crazy to find out that these guys, none of you other guys that are in his same goddamn weight class are not jumping up to fight him. And you just signed a guy like that. You just signed a guy that you fucking hate in the UFC. So Dana, I would ask you, would Shakur move the way Conor McGregor moved? Would he move the way Jose Aldo moved? Would he even move in the way Clay Guida moved? Or let's go back to Ben Henderson or any one of those guys? Would he be willing to take on the toughest fights? Would he ever would have fought a Shogun or his brother? Would he got in the ring with a Rampage Jackson or a Chuck Liddell? But you signed that guy in hopes of what? In hopes of what? And then we're finding out, okay, you went over there to Zuffa, right? So all of these fights that were on the table, the 144s and with Devin and talking about all of this other stuff and holding up the division, you feel what I'm saying? And trying to yell at people and call people up secretly, like, yo, you know we good, right? We good, right? Yeah. I'm just saying, I know you're about to do some interviews, so you know what I mean? We good though, right? We good peoples, right? Yeah, okay. All right, got you. And you calling niggas like that to make sure they don't say nothing too negative about you? Besides, yeah, I just want to fight them. Like, come on, Shakur. Like, what the fuck did you just do with your career? And Timothy Bradley, you're talking about all of this money he's going to make. We don't know what money he's going to make. Because at the end of the day, you might get one good paycheck. And then when the numbers come out on that view, because they're like, look at this bum ass shit. But here's where the trick might come in. Here's where the trick might come in. Everybody's looking at this one guy. Shakur's talking about that guy. I'm thinking I'll fight Gary. Gary's not going over there to fuck around in that sandbox. You got somebody over there right now, De Los Santos. Yeah, he got knocked out, and this will be the perfect time, coming off a knockout, that the way you move, I'm more predicting that you're going to choose De Los Santos, and it's going to be justified. Well, we was always asking for it. The first time he fought him, his hand was fucked up. So I don't understand. Y'all been asking for Shakur versus De Los Santos for the longest. Y'all was saying he ducking De Los Santos. Now he gonna fight him again on Zuffa, and y'all niggas still mad. Watch.
Yo, if they do that shit instead of Ryo, boy, you think we cooked them? This is lightweight cook.
Bro,
you know what I'm saying? I think we just
in my mind, it makes more sense than Ryo because it's the one thing that they've been asking for. Even if he fights Ryo and then his next fight is De Los Santos. But either way, it's a bad look for you, bro. You can't win the fight either way. You're in what they in Star Trek what was the Kobayashi Maru. You're in a no-win situation. And you don't think like Captain Kirk to just go at shit differently, bruh. You're not on that level. So you don't know and you can't say. Why did you sign to them? When you signed to Top Rank, we heard about what you got and we knew how many fights you was gonna have. And then it was like, oh shit, let's just see who he fight. So at the end of the day, my friend, I don't know how your fans are going to try to talk this situation or wipe your shitty ass off of this one. For real, because you shit the bed like a motherfucker on this, bro. I can't understand why if people want to call you a generational talent, people want to call you X, Y, and Z. And I might try to give the carte blanche to you to say, well, if your deal is basically you got that belt and every fight is going to be a ring fight, for your ring belt, that's a bit different. There's a possibility, there's a slight avenue for that. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, but let me interject this. We're at a point in time, AC, where I think the rubber getting ready to meet the road for Devin, and the rubber getting ready to meet the road for Shakur. Why? Because you got the mental pressure, and they all know they can gaslight us all they want, like they're moving all right and they're doing what's best for boxing and they're making this money. But right now, where El Rayo is at, El Rayo might fuck around and bust Shakur ass. He already got in there with Gary Antoine. And right at the end, he kind of learned something. He showed something in that last round. If you go back and look at it, Them last 2 rounds, he was showing some shit. He figured it out, but he figured it out just a little too late. But coming off the confidence going against a puncher like De Los Santos, he figured that shit out, made the adjustment, and he wants Shakur. He gonna fuck around and get his ass. This is the point in time where I said a while ago, I said, man, he's trapped. Like when Devin first went to 40, I said, because 140 is my division. He just eked by. He just tiptoed past it. So now they both up against it.
Yeah.
To where he might get his ass busted, AC.
Yeah. And hey, listen, it'll be a shock probably to the boxing community. I think he's gonna pull all his Shakurians. You feel what I'm saying? Big salute to Dave. I think he's gonna basically get the views from his Shakurians because they're gonna be excited to see what the promotions and the spectacle looks like, having a supposed big star like Shakur Stevenson, see if they pull out the red carpet and all of that other kind of stuff. And basically say it like this. It's very, very unusual. And part of me was feeling like this. The reason why this came out after the presser is because now they're trying to take the shine away from the final merger, the nail in the coffin, really, for Zuffa. And it's like, oh, we're gonna announce the Shakur Stevenson signing because we think Shakur is boxing right now, and anything that Shakur, everybody's gonna tune into and everything. So it's, you know, they think this Shakur interview is going to be, you know, Cat Williams on Club Shay Shay. And it's just not going to be that. You feel what I'm saying? So I think that's why they kind of dropped it. It's strategical to me more in the fact that, yeah, we just seen the final piece of the puzzle be placed in that DAZN thing of everybody being under one network. And then once Top Rank signed, it was like, how long is it going to be before PBC signs with them and stuff like that? And one thing I did say, and this is going to be interesting moving forward, I recall myself saying that in the vein of everybody joining, I said, watch some of the energy change when PBC signs to DAZN. And so far, you're kind of seeing it to where is everybody like, oh, shit. Yeah, everybody under one roof right now. Everybody, like, nobody got any room to hide. And I'm hearing that from across the board from all the content creators that pretty much pop up on my timeline, even some of the AI ones. And within the scope of that, DAZN decides to make its big announcement that they finally signed Shakur Stevenson. Zuffa decides to make that announcement. So that's something that made my eyebrow pop up. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it's like you can't outshine what the potential. See, your shit is a mystery. This shit gives us real jump offs. The way Sebastian Fundora was talking, I was like, yo, okay, yeah, now I see. Where people were trying to say, no, that shit wasn't a duck. When you look at the way the rollout is happening with PBC on DAZN, all the champions are just facing their mandatory, which is better than pulling out some cherry picking shit like that. The mandatory work their way up to it, however people want to say it, but the mandatory is the mandatory. You know what I'm saying? So basically the fighters that they shown that they're going to roll out, you know, for their DAZN signing like that is a card with Fundora, the other champions, and everybody's going to be fighting their mandatories, maybe another different type of fight, but it's pretty much championship fights. And you just look at the strategic move of how PBC did it, and you like, yeah, they coming they coming with some different energy. People really gonna see how them PBC boys really get down. You know what I'm saying? Who are the really real in boxing right now? And that's what I think PBC about to show these dudes. And I love the energy of the zone rep, the black dude who was like, yeah, I'm super excited to have all of these fights that can be made right now without the whole thing of crossing the street and people talking about the business of boxing. Tom Brown doubles down on that, but then Shakur says, yeah, the business of boxing is getting in the way. While the two executives are talking about the business of boxing no longer in the way, and the business of boxing usually came down to network deals. That's what was fucking up Wilder versus AJ. Two conflicting networks were like, we got to get it. So at the end of the day, bro, you land your plane and you just say, all right, this situation is definitely stippled with Shakur. You really got to step back to see the whole picture, because once you see the whole picture, you also see the timeline. And you see what was done if you're a boxing fan like that fucked up other fights, now make everything possible in this new economy, in this new world, which Shakur tried to say, this new thing in boxing. Everybody's under one umbrella. What are they gonna offer you now when they don't want to play under that same umbrella like that? That's crazy. That's pretty much where I landed, you know, because it's just like, what else to say? It's just, when you know what you're looking at, you know what you're looking at. And Shakur Stevenson is the biggest cat, and he made the biggest duck move in boxing. You know.
Yeah. Well, you well put, man. Like, they say you was cooking, man. They say you was cooking, so you definitely cooked them, man. And I have no pushback for anything you said, man. It's just the writing's on the wall, and we were saying this. We were saying this when we seen the Devin and the Rolly negotiations fall out, and then we heard all the things they were saying about Fundora. And I'm like, listen, man, PBC had a model. And when you look at all of their big things, like all of their big fights, so right now they have Tank. He hasn't been active. They had Fundora. They had David Benavidez. They just had that Albert Bell acquisition. But like a lot of the moves that were made, it was like, look, PBC was trying to make the fights. They had Benavidez in the mix, trying to make fights with whoever, and his opponent chose a move in a weird way, like what Jal Batar did. So it's just odd now that all the major players and the people that the Haney voice was pushing for, like all of that, when they sold us up the river, they sold boxing fans up the river for the turkey shit. They all was trying to sell them down the river for the Zuffa shit, not looking at the big picture. Now, all the major players are on one platform, and one nigga grabbed his little raft and his paddle, and now he up shit creek. Because I ain't gonna lie, man, I think El Rayu might bust his ass. You know, that's gonna be a lot of pressure. It's gonna be a lot of pressure. They're gonna be like, is this the right move? That's gonna be a lot of pressure. So we just gotta sit back and wait and see. I don't think that, like, the optics of Shakur doing that now, and now we know that these niggas be full of shit. So if what Manic said on the 30th was true, and we just got clarification on the 9th, that man he was out here flim-flamming and bullshitting the fans for what, a month? Like a month and a week? A month and almost 2 weeks? That's disapproval.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's it, man. I think we did this one justice, man. I just wanted to put a stake in the ground for it, man. And I want to say salute to everybody in the 300, man, who came by and you know, stopped by and gave their input, man. The chat was cooking.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
Good stuff, AC.
Yeah, for sure. And that, you know, for me, it was just more like you got two snipers on the hill. You feel what I'm saying? You got one target. You don't shoot, and then I shoot after you, and I don't shoot, and then you shoot after me. We shoot at the same time. And I think this was the type of cook coming from all sides that can't nobody deny. Cause you was just hitting it on, like, yo, straight up, bang, bro. Listen, this is what he said. This is what he was doing. This is the history of what he was doing in the sanctioning bodies. I mean, in his career. Me, I was coming at it from the point of, looking at it from the side of it to where people try to state people won't understand the business of boxing. Okay, the business of boxing is you had much more leverage where you just came from. And now you're saying all of this stuff is going to be easy. I don't see it. So you got to show us now it's how easy it is. So is this one of those things where you going to run around and say, yeah, I'm about to stop him, but then we don't get the stoppage, and then you talk about after the fight, no, my hand was hurt. That's why I didn't stop him. So we're gonna see how this shit play out. Right now, bro, you done hopped in that boat. You on that island. You done met Dr. Moreau, and you're just looking at him like, okay, yeah, let's really talk. And he's showing you the facility, and he's like, yeah, over here we're doing experiments, and over here I built this facility and all of this other stuff. And that's exactly how the movie went. They was enticed by something, but they didn't really know what this madman was responsible for. And you about to find out on the island of Zuffa Moreau, bro. This shit might turn into a horror movie for you real fast. That's why you was like, well, I'm honest, and we'll see. So that's where I'm gonna land it, bro. Good show, buddy.
All right, man. All right, AC, man. Hope you enjoy your evening, man. I appreciate your contribution today, man. We'll kick it on another day, man.
Yeah, definitely, bro.
All right, peace. We had another good one in the books, y'all. Boxing is wild, man. I can't see how the Shakurian is going to get around with this one, man. I mean, I don't even waste brain cells arguing with them no more. If I get a chance to hop up on a panel and cook one of them, oh yeah, I'm going to get it in. If you see me on another panel, I might be a little bit more aggressive or whatever, because it's like I have zero tolerance for ignorance. Let's just be a straight shooter. That's why when it came down to Tank never denied the fact that he's all about the bread. He was the only one that said, hey, look, man, I'm about that bread. He happened to create legacy on his way to the bread and getting the bread, but he never denied that. All these other people would say, oh, I'm legacy, I'm this, I'm that. And then come to find out they wanted the same thing too. And come to find out that in his absence, when it was a time where somebody could have grabbed those reins, I think David Benavidez did the best job trying to grab the reins to stake claim to be the face. David Benavidez and maybe Bam Rodriguez might have made the best case. You got Abdullah Mason, he's coming along, you know what I'm saying, and he's on his way. But, Boots put his name in the hat here recently. But like the ones that everybody's saying, oh man, yeah, this and Tank ducking this and that, it's like, knock it off, man. Y'all couldn't be further from the truth. What we need to do is we need to raise some money, man. You need to hit my Cash App. You know what I'm saying? You need to hit the super chat, man, so we can get the Shakurian some baby wipes, so we can wipe his ass for all this shit that he just put in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how he gonna get out of this one. I've been done with Shakur for like it's coming up on 2 years now. I'm telling y'all. I used to be a big Shakur fan. I used to defend him. When it was him and Haney and all this, I used to go at it. You know what I'm saying? I used to defend Keyshawn, then I peeped Keyshawn early out on what Keyshawn was all about. And come to find out, man, real niggas do real things, man. And I don't really peep real nigga energy from any of these guys. You know, I'll be out with this. I always say, man, don't be one of these boxing fans. We're in an era now where, you know, boxing fans want to be bi. What do you mean by that, Mike? If you listen, I'm gonna tell you, right? They want to have it both ways. You can't say, oh yeah, Tank was ducking this, ducking that, ducking blah blah blah, but yeah, he came around full circle. So if you get the benefit of the doubt of calling him a duck for all that time, when he come by and he send you an offer, and then your guy say no, what is your guy? Where is that same energy? And I'm realizing that in Errol Spence fashion, man, people don't keep the same energy. That's all we really want, man. Like, we're not out with the knives and the pitchforks for anybody, man. We don't talk about boxers and their personal lives. We've made a purpose. One of the agendas over here is to start inside the ring, and that's necessary move outside the ring. But we always substantiate it with their behavior, their moves, and things that we can substantiate. We respect all of the boxers because they get hit in the head for a living. We just can't let them get a pass. Like, Richardson Hitchens was one of my guys. He made 2 goofy moves, and I was like, man, right now, I'm not on that shit right now. Like, you got to go sit down. You're not going to catch me out here vying for you and making excuses and trying to, it's like, no. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. Shit got to get binary in boxing again. Your boxing moving right? Okay, give them a salute. Now today, I call it the salutes. They say give them flowers, same thing. Give your boxer the salute. Give Oshagi the salute. Give Abdullah Mason the salute. David Benavidez the salute. These guys, you know, even Brian Norman for putting his strap up, like, to give that. Because right now, we see what's going on with Devin. Don't y'all find it odd that everybody that he negotiated, when it's a fight, right, where he know he can win, we don't hear all this back and forth in negotiations. When it's something Shakur really want, we don't hear all this back and forth in negotiations. I've never heard all this back and forth in negotiations with a Tank fight. Why? Because the people that really want to fight Tank, they shut the fuck up, they sign that contract, and they go in there and try to do their thing. The results are the results, but that's different. But we noticed that when it's a guy that they really want, they'll go over and fight a nigga over in Australia. They'll go over there for like 24 rounds to fight a nigga for peanuts. You know what I'm saying? They'll, like, think about all the different fights that actually went down and how the negotiations went that we didn't hear about. Then align yourself and ask yourself, okay, well, why are we hearing all this back and forth? Because that's a threat. He was willing to put himself into a press to fight Shakur at 144. Tank say, all right, let's do 144, 70, 30, more money than you ever made. And it's all, I don't like the way you talk to me. And Devin has been the most disrespectful. That wasn't the first time him doing that Father's Day stuff with the picture of Tank mother. That wasn't the first time. He brought Coach Calvin and them all into the limelight about how much they was getting paid. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bill has been very disrespectful. He called his mother a bee before. Bill did. You know what I'm saying? Like, they've been very disrespectful. Then they hide behind their religion when it comes down to it, and it's enough people that's practicing that religion to give them mercy and grace. But I'm like, nah, man, we can't do that. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And we at a point in time now with boxing fans, they won't even acknowledge that their guys moving funny. They're just going to make another excuse. You know, they're going to try to, what they say, excuse it away. You know, apologize it away. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird out here, man. It's the last of the Mohicans where it's only a few people that's willing to come out and say what needs to be said about things. That's why I always say silence is consent, meaning that all it takes for evil to prevail is for men and women to remain silent. So we have to. It's It's mandatory that we speak to the things that need to be spoken to in the sport of boxing. Otherwise, it'll keep going on, and everybody, like, have you ever been on a job site and you say something, You've been in an environment where you say something and somebody else say, "Oh man, I was thinking the same thing." It's like, but they never say nothing. You gotta say something, man. You don't gotta bring out the knives and the pitchforks and be ready to hang these niggas. But at the same time, if we want our sport to further itself, to progress, and to continue to be a sport that we can enjoy, you got to speak to these things. Hopefully in today's conversation, you was able to put something in your rucksack and carry it on to your next boxing conversation. We always say, go where everybody know your name, and they always glad you came, and they always sing your praise, and then come over here and hear what we got to say. Maybe you'll learn something. You can walk away with something on your mind, because that's what we do. We try to challenge your mind. We're not going to tell you we're the best thing since sliced bread and we're geniuses and all this other shit. We're not going to say all that, man. We just boxing purists. We break everything down. We're not going to be first, but we're going to be consistent in what we do. Sometimes we let the beat build. We let boxing do its thing, and then we come back, we bounce it back and forth, and we come out and speak on it, man. And we don't have to get up and apologize on the next episode and say, "Oh man, I was wrong. I was wrong about this." The only thing we might have to do is we might have to eat crow for making a wrong prediction. But guess what? We are the type of channel where we're not going to be hindsight in 2020 and say, "Oh, we told you so." No, we're going to draw our line in the sand. We're going to pick an opponent. You know what I'm saying? We're going to pick and say, "All right, this is my line in the sand. I got this guy for the win." And if we wrong, we're going to come out and eat crow. In the time where I've had to eat crow, it's been the best crow of my life. Why? Because it was good for boxing that happened. Why? Because if I have to eat crow with most of the picks that I make, that means that something overwhelming, something exciting happened, and something that, you know, added to the sport of boxing happened. So we have nothing to really be like disdain or like be embarrassed about. It happens. You can get a pick wrong. But I'm seeing a whole lot of hindsight as 2020 looking asses out here. And it does nothing for us as boxing fans. In my honest opinion, it's about to get ugly for Tank. Shakur got all the media behind him. They about to use Dana White and Zuffa to paint Tank as a duck. They're going to, yeah, but we gotta and salute David Lynch. But yeah, but we gotta say something, ASO Stain. I know you are. Back and forth between Xander and Ennis because they wanted to fight. Yeah, it was no, like, you see how smooth it was with Ennis? Like, most of the fights, when they get announced, when these fights get announced, man, we don't go through all that. Like, what was all the back and forth? Tell me this. What was all the back and forth when it came down to Zepeda and Roach? What was all the back and forth when it came down to Rolly and T.O.? Like, I'm trying to tell y'all, when people start negotiating in the media and you hear all this back and forth, it's because somebody has intrepidation. And the fact that T.O. is on the DAZN card, right? And he got Takeover Promotions up there, and that there was no back and forth with him and Rolly. What did that tell you? They both wanted to fight, and they knew that the money was there. That you can't convince me otherwise that fight between Rolly and Devin was not going to sell. That fight was going to sell. Why? Because one, it closed the triangle. Ryan smacked Devin, right? Rolly smacked Ryan. We wanted to see who gonna smack who when it come down to Devin and Rolly. You know, but that shell of a promotional company that he got, and the fact that Devin he still got PTSD even with the success that he had against a Brian Norman. He don't believe in himself. It just is what it is, man. The writing be on the wall, but like, we can listen to all these guys painting narratives and making excuses or whatever. I mean, I'm trying not even to engage in that, man. If it's not leading to, like, I might check somebody on something, man, and be factual about something, but at the end of the day, man, it's not worth your brain cells. Boxing goes on. You can't be like caught up and hemmed up and being a cult for not one boxer. But we do have a responsibility to call out who's moving right and who's moving wrong. That's just my lane. You know what I'm saying? I don't really get out my lane. I have my little fun. I make my little jokey jokes here and there, but for the most part, if it's not progressing boxing, you know, along the right path to lead us to getting the good fights, I'm not with it. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. I think it's crazy. I think even when we have success, like the success that Derek and Earl had together, we get right overshadowed there with all the bullshit. And we're playing into the agendas of everybody else by bickering over that shit. That shit is done. They were successful. Derek James had 2 divisions, the Glamour division and 54 with 7 straps. Holler at me when somebody in the Glamour division, welterweight division, get 3 straps unified. And holler at me when somebody in the 54 strap pick them up one by one by one. Not no Cambosa shit where you fight one time and get them all. Holler at me when you got one trainer that can do that. So I'm not going to take away from his success from that. And I'm not going to shit on Earl, you know what I'm saying, for being stubborn as he was and wanting to get that bag. We dealt with it. Get over it. Let it go. Because other coaches don't pull down from the legacy of what they still giving Bomac all this praise. And I'm like, man, let's really look at Bomac's resume. Let's look at all the fighters he had and who he got that he was able to have success with. When it boils down to it, he had a lot of success with Bud. Outside of that, he just like all these other coaches. Like Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny, outside of like Tank, you know what I'm saying? Ryan Garcia, he got a little squad that he's been having success with. Most of these guys, they have one special guy, one special talent, and they ride off of that. That don't mean, what do that mean? So when you got somebody like Derek James that's able to do that with 2 different fighters and have that level of success, holler at me when another coach can do that. Until then, shut the fuck up and just enjoy the sport and keep your eyes on the prize. But y'all know I can talk this boxing shit forever, man. It's sad that PBC finally joins the zone. They come to the party. You know what I'm saying? With all the party favors. And Shakur take his pussy ass over his Zuffa. Thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you. He was like, what the fuck is this nigga, right? Oh, okay, you want to go to sleep. You tired.
Welcome to